My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. I want to let you know what we're doing today to give you a little context. You just saw Jody Rich with me, who is a friend. We did NFT NYC together at the PlayStation Theater in New York Times Square a couple months ago. We did Consensus together this last week, and he came out here to be a part of this summit. We just walked through Puerto Rico and kind of shared our thoughts. What's coming up next is news and media. What is news and media like today in Puerto Rico? How will news and media be impacted by Puerto Rico, and how will Puerto Rico be impacted by news and media, not just today, but in the future? And we're going to kind of have that conversation with somebody that I'm going to interview. While we kind of gear up for the interviews, I also just want to stop and be very clear that I would greatly appreciate it if you would do a couple things for me. One is, would you leave a comment? I have people that are actively watching the comments, replying to the comments, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. I imagine this video is being shared live right now as well on LinkedIn and on Instagram. So, let us know if you have questions about Puerto Rico. Let us know if you have questions about the topics that we're covering, right? Art and news and philanthropy and family, business, government, and education. Because I'll field your questions. I'll answer questions that kind of come through and be able to interact with the audience. The other thing is, I'm giving away some AirPods, and I'm giving away a bunch of crypto kitties on behalf of Dapper Labs. And I'm also giving away time with me. If you'd like to meet with me, I'd like to do that over a live stream. So I'm going to pick somebody and give that away. Tickets to our upcoming events that are physical with audiences. And so these are things that we're doing. You have to go to claim.futurecastswag.com. That's claim.futurecastswag.com. And I mentioned that to you because, hey, that's going to go for the next 3.5 hours. I'd love for you to be the one that we gift that to. I'll be back in just a moment to talk about news and media and Puerto Rico's involvement, impact, and for today and soon to come. Hi, my name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. I'm here with my friend Kai, and we've been doing media together for the last couple days.
Insane.
And it's been a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I thought, you're here and you have a fresh perspective on news media and Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So why don't you give folks a little of your background, what you do in the media sphere, kind of documenting Puerto Rico, documenting, in many ways, kind of what Brock is doing here and his network. Just tell us a bit about yourself when it comes to the media world.
Absolutely. Aloha again, you guys. First and foremost, I'm so honored. I know the press for time, but this is such an honor to so impromptu and under the presence of other content creators. I get so inspired and ideas are coming in. So high five for first and foremost. So I've been here for I would say close to a few weeks now, and very grateful for Brock Pierce for believing in me and bringing me in to help tell stories here and what's occurring here and the renaissance that's happening here. And since I've been here,
right.
Seeing the people, I've been talking with locals, been doing interviews and really just capturing moments of how Brock works and some of the things that he's creating here, where he's really uniting as many people or inviting as many people to come and take a look and see, and then, launching projects. He really just wants things to kind of, to be in action. And so that's super inspiring. Being behind the lens is really, you're so humbled, and it's also such a privilege to witness this kind of how do you say it? Forgive me, I might blank out, but just to witness this, because it inspires you. If someone can do it like this, like anybody can.
Right.
I've also been talking to some of the locals up and down the street and some of their stories.
Right.
And so we're here to talk about really the renaissance that's happening. And I do believe that it's a call to action. More content creators who are interested in telling stories about Puerto Rico is needed.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's a privilege to be here and witness it and be inspired.
And if somebody were to ask you, hey, what's happening in Puerto Rico? Give us the state of things, right? And you get tapped by a major news or media outlet, and they say, hey, give us the state of things, capture the state of things. What are you seeing right now in Puerto Rico? What is the news media state of Puerto Rico today? Because we had the really bad Hurricane Maria a year and a half ago. They've been building, I understand that $40+ billion the B is being released to Puerto Rico for rebuilding, both public and private money. So there's just a lot of focus on Puerto Rico, right? It's kind of, people call it the crypto utopia, right? There's many decentralized things happening here. So for you, what are you viewing, and what type of stories would you tell about Puerto Rico today based on what you've seen and captured so far?
Yeah, the best way is, honestly, I'm not an opinionated person, but I like to capture everyone's expression, because I'm here to encourage everyone to express themselves. So I can answer your question by telling a story downstairs that I heard, where he lives in La Perla, and he said, things like Daddy Yankee coming and making music videos, that kind of brought some light into La Perla. So it brought economics, it brought them to a spotlight. Okay, it's a music video, a celebrity kind of whatever, but even that helps in a sense of shedding some spotlight, because someone could see it and be inspired and I wish to help too. I'm seeing also lots of entrepreneurs, I know you're moving here soon, coming in here wanting to help. The angel investor, the first ever angel investor was here, and I saw angels that came in, and they're and there was the one guy, he was just I just want to help. I don't even overthink it. If I feel it, I use my intuition and I write checks. I'm seeing a ton of people wanting to help, and also they want to be in the island. The island is really enchanting and it's magical, and I think the more we show that in the media, make content about it, what Brock is really doing, he's just full on, we want to make this content, we want to just show it. I think that people will form their own opinions, and I think that if it calls you to help and come through, come on, all hands on deck.
It's great. And that's really one of the big takeaways when you talk about Puerto Rico regarding news and media, is that there's a big story to tell. And so today the story is being told by centralized organizations, but more and more decentralized, as people tell stories across all different platforms, and over time it's only going to get more free for people like you to have a voice.
Let's get more content creators coming to Puerto Rico and tell your story.
Creators. So we'll be right back. We're going to talk a bit about philanthropy here in Puerto Rico today and what is to come. Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to the Global Blockchain Summit. I'm here with my friend Jose, and Jose is a local here. Can you just tell folks, you're the president-elect of the Chamber of Commerce.
That's right.
You grew up here.
Yes.
This is your home.
Yep.
So give a little background on yourself.
Basically, I've born and raised in Puerto Rico, and until I was 18. Then I went to study abroad for a few years. Lived in Boston for 9 years, New York for 4. Then after that, I've been pretty much international in Japan for 4 years, Hong Kong and China for about 12. And then about 5 years ago, I came back to Puerto Rico. But most of my projects have been related to Puerto Rico and abroad.
So now that you've been back, talk to me about the state of philanthropy. Like, what's the state of philanthropy in Puerto Rico, both for the locals as well as those that have moved here? You know, because like, for instance, Act 22, like you have to give $5,000 a year to philanthropy. So obviously that's like spurring on some generosity.
Sure.
But just talking about philanthropy here in
Yes.
the Puerto Rico area.
There's a very big culture in Puerto Rico towards philanthropy, and a lot of the largest industrial or entrepreneurs in Puerto Rico have donated a significant portion of their assets, or they have gifted them or willed them to create foundations.
Yes.
And some of them, these are some of the largest families here in Puerto Rico that have initiated certain activities, such as museums or schools or foundations, which are actively providing certain charitable activities in various sectors.
And what is your hope for philanthropy in this region, both for the local community and those outside of it, as time goes on? Like, obviously with Hurricane Maria,
Yes.
you were in need as a community.
Yes.
And so of course, some of that is grants. Some
Yes.
of that is private money coming in to take care of electricity and roads and airports that is going to be released soon. But also some of it is just generosity. Like,
Yes.
what's happened in philanthropy, but what do you hope will happen as time goes on?
Well, in Puerto Rico, especially in the last 2 years after Hurricane Maria, there's been different levels of philanthropy.
Okay.
Of course, right after Maria is what you call basically first impact, which is the storm just passed. People don't have homes there. People that have been, their homes are destroyed. Schools have been closed down, and schools have been closed. People can't work. I actually had to relocate 3 months because I didn't have any internet. My job requires internet, and I needed to access my server, otherwise I couldn't work. So I had to relocate to China and work remotely for 3 months. So it's pretty crazy. There was a lot of disruptions, right? But from the point of view of philanthropy, there have been tons of local activities where there has been a lot of outreach from organizations in the United States that have come here that have experience of working with Katrina and Sandy and even Hurricane Harvey and some of the other natural disasters in the U.S.
Yes.
And these are just grassroots organizations. Some of them are faith-based organizations that have certain relationship with their, basically with their same denominations here in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And they have established very significant projects here to provide educational services or just basically giving people a hand, because the devastation was pretty bad, you know, in basically outside of San Juan and in some of the communities.
Can you talk about faith in the Puerto Rico area? I mean, this is a very spiritual place.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that are very committed to their faith, their religion, their worship. Can you talk a bit about that ecosystem in Puerto Rico?
Yes. Well, Puerto Rico, as you know, is a multicultural island. We have, it's a merger between four main cultures. We have obviously the indigenous peoples that have been living here for thousands of years, that are, there's different, basically different tribes or different groups that are living in the continent. But in Puerto Rico, generally we have the Taino Indians, right?
Yeah.
Which are generally very benevolent type. You know, it's pretty cool people, right?
Yeah.
So generally, after the Spanish arrived, you have this European contingent that is coming in, a very big European influence.
That's right.
And then they also brought these slaves from Africa. So there's different cultures, different beliefs, different, you know, gastronomy, or all these different things mixing together.
Yes.
And then in the last 100 years, then we have the United States, which, because of the relationship between the United States and Puerto Rico, then you have another whole set of culture and beliefs.
Right.
Now, generally in Puerto Rico, the religion tends to be a Christian religion in general, and there's a pretty big contingent of Catholicism, just because initially when we were with Spain for our first 400 years, most of our influence was for Catholic.
Right.
And I myself am a Catholic.
Yes.
But there are other denominations that are also very popular here in Puerto Rico, and there's also a very strong Jewish community and a Muslim community, and other denominations that are not even Christian. And there's also Buddhists and, you know, agnostic. There's all different kinds of communities that are developing. So it's a very healthy environment and very tolerant, and everybody is just allowed to, you know, there's basically you're very free to just exercise or not exercise, whatever people want to do. Just people are free to do that.
Yeah, I've found that to be the case as I've been here, getting to know people. And
Sure.
also as I've kind of studied, like, hey, what is the culture here? So we're going to jump into a brief break. Again, what you're watching is, you know, slides of beautiful photos of Puerto Rico and some of the things that we're talking about. Of course, we're doing a big giveaway, but also what you see from time to time are all these videos that are going through. These videos were taken today right outside here in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. So if you like the videos and the photos you're seeing, that's where we're at right now. You should come and visit. We'll be right back in a moment to talk about family. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. I'm here with my friend Jose, and what we're going to be talking about right now is family. I thought that you'd be an ideal person to talk about that. You are now the president-elect of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Your family's been here probably for many generations.
Yes.
And your father was the president of the Chamber of Commerce.
Correct.
And so you have like this family heritage in business and in many things. Can you just talk about the family culture of Puerto Rico? How does Puerto Rico impact families? How do families impact Puerto Rico?
Yes. Well, in Puerto Rico, because it's a Latin culture, right, there's a general, just not necessarily an obligation, but sort of a responsibility for the children or sons and daughters to sort of follow on the steps of the parents. And so that's why you get a lot of businesses in Puerto Rico that are multi-generational, and you have certain industries that have certain agricultural base that have been operating for 4 or 5 generations. And for example, in the coffee business in Puerto Rico, you have certain families that have been working for more than 200 years.
Wow.
In the same operation. It does get a little bit trying recently because millennials, they always want to do something new. It's a new generation. It's coming in like a tsunami, and then right after there's Generation Y. There's other generations. It's a little bit of a challenge to continue that, and it has been in Puerto Rico. In general, in the Chamber of Commerce, we do have a lot of businesses that are family owned, where there is a succession, where the parents bring their sons or their daughters into the business.
Yes.
It does take quite a long time for that to happen, and in some cases, along the way, they study something else, or they visit, or they relocate to another place. But but there is a general tendency in Puerto Rico to sort of foster the family-based businesses here in Puerto Rico in general.
Now, I've had a lot of friends I've talked to that moved here for Act 20. If you're not familiar, Act 20 is the provisions for you to move a corporation or start a corporation here, and that would give you 4% corporate tax, which
Yes.
is amazing. Act 22 is for a person or a family to move here, and there's some significant personal tax benefits for those that are grace enough to have tax problems.
Yes.
Right? And a lot of my friends that moved here, maybe for the taxes, or maybe because of the beauty and the weather, and right, for me, I'm well insulated. It's a little warm for my size,
Yeah.
a little sweaty, a little humid, but it's beautiful and amazing. But one of the big things that I've heard consistently from everybody that has a family, right? And I've been talking to a lot of people that have adolescent kids, and they're saying, this is the best thing we ever did for our family. Our children have greater community now than they've ever had. We as parents have greater community now than we've ever had. Why do you think Puerto Rico as a region and Puerto Ricans as a people have fostered that type of impact on the people that have dropped everything in their life to move here and be part of this environment?
Sure. Well, first of all, Puerto Rico is it's an excellent ecosystem for people to come because, as I mentioned to you earlier, we are a mix of different cultures. So we are very receptive of new ideas or people that don't look like us, basically.
Right.
So we're within that. But at the same time, from what you mentioned about Act 20 and 22, these laws have been very effective to bring in people from way outside of the box.
Yes.
People like Brock Pierce that have come here and just basically relocated and set up like an entire new industries here in Puerto Rico related to blockchain and related to technologies.
Yes.
And in my own case, for example, I do have an Act 20 decree, even though I'm a local person.
Yep.
So Act 20, it also facilitates local businesses to export their services. And my company has about 8 or 9 different areas where I can export, including software development, R&D, consulting, basically all of these different areas. And I also work with coffee business for export. I'm doing that within my Act 20 decree.
Yes.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is for Act 22 is that it has been a tool for certain people from Puerto Rico that moved out of Puerto Rico more than 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Really?
According to the law, it's basically if you were outside of Puerto Rico before 2012. So
Wow.
a lot of Puerto Ricans have returned to Puerto Rico and have been granted Act 22 status.
I want to end with this. Can you actually talk to Puerto Ricans that have left in Spanish, your native
Sure.
tongue, and just invite them to come back based on the new opportunities that are here right now? And we'll end with that after my friend Jose speaks directly to the Puerto Ricans watching in your native tongue, so you feel your mother language. I may not understand it, but I'll feel it. Then we're going to go to a break and be right back to talk about family and the impact that will happen over the next decade. But please, communicate with your tribe.
Gracias. Bueno, Puerto Rico, como ustedes saben, muchos de ustedes que por X o Y razón pues tuvieron que partir de Puerto Rico, la situación en Puerto Rico ha cambiado y en este momento pues debido a pues ciertas situaciones que han habido en los últimos años pues se presentan ciertas oportunidades y se está creando ciertas nuevas iniciativas en Puerto Rico en donde ustedes podrían venir y participar y contribuir. En muchas áreas, pues ustedes son parte de la diáspora en Estados Unidos o en otros países y eso también es una ventaja en donde ustedes pueden pues servir de un puente de esa diáspora que está en estas otras comunidades a conectar con Puerto Rico. Porque en este momento, pues, especialmente después de María, ha habido un éxodo de puertorriqueños, pero hay gente que está llegando aquí y está tomando provecho de esas oportunidades en numerosos sectores. Ayer tuvimos un evento, por ejemplo, relacionado a blockchain aquí en Puerto Rico, que es una serie de tecnologías emergentes y hay un montón de personas que están llegando que son expertas, pero también en Puerto Rico hay numerosas oportunidades, por ejemplo, en el área de reconstrucción de Puerto Rico, en el área de servicios y un sinnúmero de otras actividades que se pueden hacer en Puerto Rico, porque generalmente Puerto Rico es como el puente, como ustedes saben, entre Estados Unidos y Latinoamérica. Pero ahora mismo lo que se está viendo también es que está viniendo gente de Europa, está viniendo gente de Asia, está viniendo gente de otros países que están viniendo aquí para contribuir. Y le digo, no se lo pierdan, en verdad, consideren también unirse a entidades como la Cámara de Comercio, que son entidades que están básicamente organizando todo el sector privado en Puerto Rico y todas las iniciativas de reconstrucción van a estar mayormente basadas, por lo menos desde el punto de vista de la Cámara de Comercio, en iniciativas de desarrollo económico, que están basadas en trabajo, empleo y en productividad. Muchas gracias y espero verlos pronto en alguno de nuestros eventos aquí en Puerto Rico. Gracias.
Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. My name is Ian Utilli, and I am here with my friend Michelangelo. Michelangelo is a very promising entrepreneur building amazing software and hardware. He has an incredible vision, very articulate. I met you at CES in Las Vegas. I got to hear your update on your business pitch yesterday. Very impressed with you. I just finished up with Jose talking about family, how Puerto Rico impacts family, how families impact Puerto Rico today. And I thought, you came so we could talk about business, which we're going to do in just a moment. Yeah. But I thought, I'd love to bring you in. You're local. This is your home. This is your land. To just talk about what do you project with family, like a decade from now or further. When you're an old man and you have great grandchildren, what's Puerto Rico going to be like for families, or at least what do you hope it will be like? I just love to hear your thoughts.
Definitely. So families, communities. Can I give my perspective on communities?
Please.
In a more broader sense.
Absolutely.
So most of you know we were hit by Hurricane Maria.
Yeah.
That was devastating. Something that changed from Hurricane Maria that I noticed. Before that, for some reason, communities, families used to fight a lot. People used to backstab themselves, right? There was like a detachment for some reason. And it's understandable. Because we've always gotten the short end of things, so you can't trust anyone. After Maria, for some reason, people started understanding that alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do everything. So that sparked a flame, right? A huge fire where communities now understand that we don't have to depend on anyone. We can do things ourselves. We can build. I've seen families all across Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria building their own agriculture companies, building their own tech companies, families, sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers, joining together, right, in an entrepreneurial setting to grow these huge markets. Then you have tax incentives, right, which is like just a gift from the government, like have this, families, grow, right? It's like adding gasoline to the fire. Right. And so the families of the future are going to be more proactive families, closer families. They've experienced loss, so they know they have to stick together. Yeah. And that's what I could say at an ecosystem level. I see more municipalities working together, innovating. Something that also happened is the entrepreneurial setting in general sparked. And then the government has incentives like Colmena 66. They have P18, which is an incubator here in Puerto Rico. If I'm not mistaken, they give around $40,000 to 80 projects a year. Wow. And one of the projects I can mention, Brain High, was the first Puerto Rican project to go to Y Combinator. Wow. Right? And then you have things like Abertis, raised millions of dollars, right? They're generating over $9 million after Maria. Why is that? Yeah. Why is that? So that teaches you something about not only families, but communities, right? How things can change, right? When you lose something, you understand what is really valuable. So in the future, I see more proactive families, more businesses, and a greater community.
How about the wealth of local Puerto Ricans over the next several decades? The legacy of local Puerto Ricans over the next several decades. Like, what is it that you want for your children, your grandchildren, if you're graced to have kids, or if not your own, how about your nieces, your nephews, your friends, their children? Like, what kind of, like, not just financial wealth, but life wealth, community wealth, relationship wealth, and business wealth? Like, talking about your hopes for this community as time goes on and as this place becomes more and more prosperous.
Disrupting the system. I'll tell you why. Before, if you weren't rich, you weren't someone who was important, you didn't have opportunities, right? No one was going to listen to you because of the monopolies, right? In the future, even now, it's happening right now. If you have the characteristics of a great entrepreneur, both in the intellectual, spiritual sense, you can make it. Right. So I feel that my grandchildren will grow in a community where they have opportunities. They don't have to go anywhere. One of the biggest problems before Maria was the brain drain. Now that doesn't happen. Everyone has opportunities, and everyone's helping each other. And that's what's going to happen.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring you back up to talk about the future of business in just a moment. We're going to run to a quick break, and we'll be right back with Jose again to talk about business today. And I'm so thankful that you, Michelangelo, Jose, and others have come here so that we could find out, this global Puerto Rico Summit audience can find out what the locals have to say about things like family and business and many other topics. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. My name is Ian Utilli, and I'm your host. And what we've done for the last hour is I've been interviewing some people. My friend like Jody Rich, who's one of the great technologists and has become both a partner with me in different projects as well as a mentor, somebody that I deeply am thankful for his counsel and wisdom. So talk to some locals. Jose, who is the president-elect of the Chamber of Commerce here in Puerto Rico. His father was also the president of the Chamber of Commerce. We talked to Michelangelo, who is one of the promising entrepreneurs here, who I met at CES, is pitching his company, and I met him yesterday at an Angels investor meeting. And I got to hear his pitch again. Also to Kai, who is here documenting Puerto Rico, documenting her experience, basically telling a story of what she's finding out about this region. And so covered is art, entertainment, media, news, worship, and philanthropy, and just most recently we covered family, community. And now we're going to talk about business. I thought for a moment I would move and just talk directly to you for the 2 minutes and 40 seconds because I have a very serious countdown timer that tells me when to start and end. I am just trying to deliver the content that the people want. And hopefully you have also wanted to see some of these beautiful videos that have been playing, and that's right outside where we're at in Old San Juan. And where I'm at is in the ballroom of the Monastery Art Suites, where Brock Pierce has developed a phenomenal community for both the locals and those that are visiting and those that have moved here. On to the topic, business, and how Puerto Rico is impacting business, and how business is being impacted by Puerto Rico. Now, for the next 2 minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about my perspective on business here in Puerto Rico. Brock first told me, you got to come here. This is the place. This is the place. You got to bring your company here, bring your talent here, bring your people here. Then I studied and I realized, gosh, there's some really important things right now in the business perspective. One is Act 20. If you are a business person outside of Puerto Rico, you can move your company here even if you don't live here. And as long as your company is doing business in Puerto Rico, then you can pay 4% corporate tax. There's really nothing else like that. There's amazing legal help and help with CPAs that are local here that have done this for 2,000 people now. There's 2,000 more people that have applied to move here under the Act 20 and Act 22 provision. Act 20 is for corporations, and I would encourage you to look into that if you have a company where you could be doing remote work out of this place. Then there's Act 22. And Act 22 is specific for somebody that has the great favor to have tax problems, right? And they don't want to pay 53% income tax and federal tax combination, or 48% income and federal tax combination in California. I mentioned before that in New York, 53. That's crazy. That's crazy, crazy, crazy amount of money. It might get worse. It might get worse. Let that settle for a moment if you're in New York or California. And so you could come here. I'm not going to come here because I want to be with my family in Santa Cruz, but I'm going to have my friends who I work with come here that it makes sense for their life. And so it's an amazing opportunity for any business person. And so I just want to stop for a moment and clearly articulate that, what I've learned about that side of things, the business side of things. I'm now going to bring up Jose again, the president-elect of the Chamber of Commerce, and dive in to business in Puerto Rico, what's happening in this region. I will be right back. My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. I am here with my friend Jose, who is the president-elect of the Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to talk about business. Let's start with innovation. Can you give me an example of something that the whole world knows about that's been innovated here in Puerto Rico?
Piña colada. Basically, this drink has been invented in Puerto Rico, right? Invented in, I believe it was around sometime around 1957 in the Caribe Hilton Hotel, which actually recently just reopened this week after Maria. They spent about $170 million to renovate the hotel after the damages. Amazing. And basically in Puerto Rico, we have a lot of free time. Generally, it's a lot of leisure time, so we have certain needs that need to be met and certain we're very creative in terms of how we come up with different solutions. So when you're surrounded by pineapples, coconuts, and rum, well, these three things mix very well together in a
They
pina
mix
colada.
very well.
And it's an incredible antidote for the heat. These days it's been a little bit hot, so we're running a little hot in these interviews with all these lights, and this is one of the coolest ways to actually cool off.
It is dark
no pun
outside.
intended.
It is
Yes.
dark outside.
It is dark. So generally downstairs, I just went down, pick up the pina colada. They pour them directly, and it's pretty good. Maybe later we'll come down,
How much
go down
was
and
a
get some
pina
more.
colada?
This was $7 actually.
So
it's a little
about $20 less than Las Vegas and New York.
Probably, yeah. Yes, probably. And this is actually one of the most reputable places to get a pina colada. Generally, you can get it for like $4 or $5.
Okay.
Which is a pretty high quality handmade pina colada.
Yes.
But I just had to run down and pick it up from.
Awesome.
There's a very famous restaurant called Barachina, which is right around the corner downstairs, and then I just picked it up. So
It's awesome.
Yep.
Now, there's small businesses here that are absolutely thriving.
Yes.
For instance, there's an ice cream place downstairs that I haven't seen the line less than 100 people.
sure.
It's just like, it's like a Star Wars movie.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what you can equate it to. I haven't seen an ice cream shop that busy ever. Not Cold Stone or Baskin Robbins or any ice cream place. I've never seen that kind of like fan loyalty.
Yes.
So, like, people might be watching that are in Puerto Rico, that are creative and thinking to themselves, man, I don't want to do blockchain or some sort of big agriculture. I don't want to do manufacturing. But man, I sure make a good pasta. Or man,
Sure.
I sure make a great drink. Can you talk about the business ecosystem here that would support a small business that opens up something as simple as an ice cream shop?
Well, given the fact that we have a lot of tourism here in Puerto Rico, we have a lot of different people from all over the world that are congregating here in Puerto Rico, there is a need for certain hospitality or experience-based services. And for example, the gentleman from Australia that was here earlier, raised in California, he's a kite surfer. And I'm like, wow, you must be having an amazing time, because here kite surfing is a pretty big event.
I'm going with Jody on Sunday.
Yes.
So my first kite surfing. I'm feeling it.
So this is a just excellent example of the certain things that you could do here, but kite surfing wasn't invented in Puerto Rico. It was sort of brought in by people that have the experience from abroad, and it was just the excellent mix of the elements, which is, you need a strong wind, you need a beach, you need good weather. And we can do that here year round, because we have strong winds every single day of the year. The wind's blowing.
Amazing.
And
It's very refreshing with the heat and the humidity.
yes, and then you don't have the chaos in some other places where there's 500 people doing it at the same time. So generally, you're pretty much free to just roam the waves and the wind on your own. And there's a zip line as well. There's a zip line that's been developed here in Puerto Rico that you're basically like 2,000 or at least over 1,000 feet up in the air. And it showed up on the Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon did it recently, and he did that. So there's a lot of different experiences. However, these experiences, if you're coming from abroad into Puerto Rico, you can bring in your experiences and sort of merge them with what we have here in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And we're always open to new things, as you mentioned, for example, for drinks or excursions or gastronomy, in terms of Puerto Rico. There's also people that are bringing in very famous chefs coming from abroad and setting up here in Puerto
I went
Rico.
to a Michelin star chef
Yes.
yesterday.
Wow.
Fantastic food.
Great.
Like it was
Yeah.
angels dancing on my tongue.
Yes.
I
And
don't know what else to say.
the food in Puerto Rico traditionally is not so spicy. It's savory, but it's not really spicy. So it's a very good blend.
Explanation of it.
Yes.
A big thriving industry that is emerging today here is medical cannabis.
Sure.
Can you talk a bit about that? Because I think that's a big part of the business ecosystem today.
Sure.
Is now cannabis is legalized for medical use.
Yes.
Also, hemp growing CBD, obviously. Most likely, THC recreational approach to cannabis will be made legalized here soon.
That's on the way, yeah.
I mean, we just had a pitch during the PR Angel group yesterday, and the guy's like, hey, each acre generates $50,000 of revenue.
Sure.
Each acre costs $10,000 to grow, so that's a 500% margin on growing cannabis. So I know that's one thing, like you have a whole committee for cannabis.
Yes.
Can you just talk a bit about like that emerging thing for for like what you would consider agriculture, right?
Well, in Puerto Rico, we have a very strong heritage in the pharmaceutical industry. So cannabis actually, it does tend to have more of a pharmaceutical type aspect, at least the most successful ventures, where you have a very strong quality control. And so basically, in Puerto Rico, the industry has just been recently, just a few years ago, just allowed to free to use medical cannabis. And we have about, it's between 50,000 plus patients right now. And we have a very strong network of dispensaries, and we also have our own growing and manufacturing. And we are very eagerly awaiting for cannabis to become legal in the U.S. so that we can export, because we do have a very strong potential in Puerto Rico to export. And this is what just happened with hemp recently because of the Farm Bill, the change in the Farm Bill. Now there are a lot of investors coming into Puerto Rico that have been working with hemp and CBD, basically, which was one of the most value-added components of hemp, which is the non-THC containing derivative of basically the same sativa, the same plant.
Right.
But in Puerto Rico, you mentioned the cultivation in terms of the margins, right?
Right.
But when you're talking about growing and manufacturing the CBD extract, the returns are like in the thousands, just because CBD oil is very concentrated in terms of value. And in Puerto Rico, we have excellent growing conditions. So if you want to go the traditional way of just farming hemp outside, we do have excellent conditions. Some people opt to have more like laboratory type growing conditions where everything's more controlled, and you don't have to use pesticides, you don't have to use anything extra. So we have various different ways of doing that, and we also have the possibility of industrial processing of the hemp fibers also for all types of products here in Puerto Rico.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking about business.
Sure.
And what's happening today. We could talk, you and I, on this for hours.
Yes.
But of course, I know that the audience, thanks for your attention. I know that you'd like to hear some more different things. So we'll be back to talk about the future of business and follow that with education and government. We're going to have a fun time. I'm glad you're with us. Enjoy this brief break. My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit here at the Monastery Art Suites. We're in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, in Brock Pierce's awesome community that I'm so very grateful he's opened up to us. And I'm here with locals like you, Michelangelo and Jose, who just finished, as well as other friends, and there's many more in there having drinks and enjoying each other's company. What I wanted to bring you back up for is to talk about the future of business. Maybe first just share, how old are you? You went to school, now you're starting a business. Like, give a little background on yourself as we dive into having you cast vision for the future of business in this region.
Of course. So name's Michelangelo. I studied computer science, did a minor in finance, worked in manufacturing when I was 17. My dad owns a small business in Puerto Rico, horse betting. Grew up middle class, lower middle class. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a technologist. I've understood the future, not only of Puerto Rico, but of emerging technologies, and I'm going for it. So the future of business in Puerto Rico.
Tell me. I'm all ears.
Let's give a story. So it's 2030.
Yes.
I see a healthy ecosystem. Let's start with the fundamentals. You need money.
Yes.
If you want to start a business, you need money.
Right.
Right? So right now, 2019, we have more than ever a growing ecosystem of venture capital and angel investing, which is important. The other day we met here.
Right.
You were one of the spokespersons for this event. Brock hosted an angel event.
Right.
With not only Puerto Rican projects, but projects from all over that wanted to come to Puerto Rico.
Right.
And invest here.
Yes.
Not only with capital, but with intellectual property.
Right.
Which is important. So I see a bunch of venture capital in Puerto Rico. I see external ways of investing. So now we have things like crowdfunding. We didn't have this in the 90s, right? Where people in the 90s aren't really here in Puerto Rico anymore because they had to leave. This is the diaspora. Now we have other ways of actually raising capital. Crowdfunding, we have things like Angel List, and then we have a healthy ecosystem of angel investors. We have people that have educated themselves on what it means to be an entrepreneur. Great, anyone could have an idea, right?
Right.
But you need to learn the exact processes of how a business grows.
Good.
Right? So yes, you can have an amazing idea, but you need a business plan,
Yeah.
an executive summary, a competitive overview. You need financials. You need a burn rate. You have to understand your customer acquisition. So before, this wasn't a thing, right? You would start an idea, you have no venture capital, your idea died, you ran out of money, you're outside. You're out of Puerto Rico, Silicon Valley, New York, other places that grow opportunities, right? But in 2030, you're going to have entrepreneurs that understand it. Why? Because education at its core is going to change.
Yeah.
Teachers are going to teach students at a very early age what it means to be an entrepreneur through workshops, hackathons, and it's already happening. There's educational platforms that teach not only blockchain, IoT, and these emerging technologies. Why are these emerging technologies necessary? Is because opportunity grows when it emerges, right? So in Puerto Rico, we have all these tax incentives. We can't be dealing with outdated technology.
Yeah.
We need things that are fresh,
Right.
and we can grab them,
Yeah.
right? So you have IoT, you have blockchain, you have Web 3.0. So you have amazing institutions. I can name a few. You have EduBlock. I started EduBlock. It was one of the first nonprofit organizations to focus exclusively on decentralized technologies.
Right.
You have Link Puerto Rico, and then you have something called Los Emprendedores. So it's called the Entrepreneurs. It's in the Inter-American University. The guy running it, Alex Rodriguez, is essentially one of my mentors.
Yeah.
He taught me that no matter who you are, you have the same intellectual capacity than anyone in the world.
Yeah.
So those are things that are going to be homegrown, so grassroots organizations that understand how you grow a business
Right.
from the ground up.
Yeah.
In 2030, I'm going to see aquaponics. I'm going to see different ways of not only growing a business, but how you can accelerate it at a crazy pace.
Yes.
So right now you're starting to see agriculture. You're starting to see how they integrate IoT in it. You're starting to see how small businesses are integrating big data.
Right.
Enhance things. Things are automated now. They're faster, they're
Yes.
smarter. We are the competition now. In 2030, I see entrepreneurs growing empires in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And bridging the gap between not only United States, Europe, Asia, but the Caribbean.
That's good.
Right? I see a big ecosystem of not only one small island, but many islands together growing in their own ecosystem where they have their own markets, right? They feed off of each other, which is going back to communities and what that means, right?
Good.
Alone we can do so little,
Right.
Together we can do so much.
That's right.
So that's what I see in 2030. That's the future of business.
I love it.
It's smarter, it's automated, people understand what it means to be an entrepreneur and how to grow businesses.
Yeah.
So those processes, that thing that was missing at an educational level is going to be there.
You know, if you are an investor, if you're one of my friends, maybe you are an angel investor, seed investor in venture capital at a family office, even involved in venture debt, or of course a private equity firm. How many young people do you see without a teleprompter and no notes and very little preparation? All I said is, can you come talk about business in 2030? Like, Michelangelo has just clearly articulated he has a man of vision. And so I would just say, like, this is the type of guy that you look for in Puerto Rico. You might be an Act 22 expat that's here in Puerto Rico. You might be looking for young talent that you can advise, invest into, help, partner with. Why not Michelangelo? He just came here yesterday for the PR Angel event to pitch, to say, I'm looking for help. I'm looking for capital. Will you deploy capital in my business so that we can create this incredible software and so much more? So I just want to stop for a moment and honor you. I thought that was a wonderful vision casting moment, and encourage you to consider reaching out to Michelangelo on LinkedIn or any other place. Your last name and your company name, that way people can find you easily.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me in Facebook at Michelangelo II. I'm the reincarnation, of course. Anglero, Anglero Vasquez. And you can also find my company at keyband.io and tradery.io.
keyband.io. We will be back in just a moment to talk about education. Thank you so much for your attention. My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. I'm here with my friend Jose, the president-elect of the Chamber of Commerce and an incredible entrepreneur who both has been educated in and out of Puerto Rico and understands the education ecosystem here. And I wanted to ask you to just tell us about education and this region.
Well, Puerto Rico, we have a very strong background in education. Because in the last 60, 70 years, we have a very strong manufacturing industry. And as a result, we have a very strong in the engineering and physical sciences and also in the humanities and arts. And we have a very big tradition for education here in Puerto Rico.
Yes. And now you have a big university here, the University of Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And I understand it's the #1 university for women that are engineers.
Correct.
Can you talk a bit about why Puerto Rico, of all places, have developed so many engineers per capita that are female?
Okay, well, just because of the fact that we have a very strong manufacturing presence here in Puerto Rico, and there's a very strong presence of the aerospace industry on the West Coast. NASA does do a lot of hiring in Puerto Rico.
Really?
For their projects, yes, for their main space centers. And NASA, actually, the Chamber, we're working on a project with NASA to facilitate more access to the universities to do internships. So we have kids that are like 16, 17 years old, and they're already going on internships in NASA.
Wow.
And these kids, if they can already code, if they're already pretty much self-sufficient, they can go and actually contribute on certain missions right now. So, and then you have obviously a lot of women and a lot of young women that are participating in this. And in Puerto Rico, we're the men here are the minority pretty much, right? So that's good for us, right? Basically. So because of the fact that you have these emerging careers, technical careers, with a very promising career profile, we do have a lot of women engineers here in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And in the West Coast, where we have the University of Puerto Rico's, the engineering college, there, as I mentioned, there is a lot of heavy recruiting in the aerospace industry and also for NASA and defense applications because of the fact that Puerto Rico, because we belong to the USA, our engineers and our students, we can get security clearance, which is something that you cannot get in Latin America or Europe or China. So this certain area of manufacturing is going to be remaining in Puerto Rico for the foreseeable future, and that push from manufacturing on aerospace and defense, it does drive more on the technical side for engineers to study here and graduate.
It's great.
In Puerto Rico.
And the state of online education in Puerto
Yes.
Rico, are people accessing Creative Live to learn how to be photographers, to learn how to be run a studio, to learn how to do video, to learn like all that side? Are they accessing Coursera, right?
Yes.
To take because you can take free classes right now from all the biggest universities, Stanford, Pepperdine.
MIT has had open courseware for decades already. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you went to MIT.
Yes.
So you're smarter than me.
No.
Can you just talk about how Puerto Ricans are leveraging online education today?
Yes, this is a very new concept, actually, even in Puerto Rico. But we do have most of the major universities already have their own virtual education and distance education portal. And what happens is there's a lot of demand from Latin America because of the fact that the universities in Puerto Rico, they all have the international accreditations, for example, from the Middle States. And so what happens is you don't even have to travel here, but you can get a degree from an accredited university in the U.S. and that just immediately, just right after you graduate and you get that degree, you're employable in the United States or in Europe or in some emerging market like Dubai or Hong Kong, just because of the fact that you have that. And you could, before that, you could have been, for example, it could be in Brazil or you could be in Peru, Ecuador, where generally you don't have access to these accredited type degrees in certain areas, such as, for example, engineering or the creative arts, as you mentioned. Right. So now there's a very big push in that. And in the Chamber, we are collaborating with the Organization of American States, which is part of it's an international organization that's based in Washington, D.C., where you have most of the United States and most of the Latin American countries participating. And it's a congress related to virtual education and distance education. It's going to be in August 29 and 30 here in Puerto Rico. We've done that. There's one done every year. The last one done in Puerto Rico was 4 years ago.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing that. And we're going to have a lot of people congregate, not only from the U.S., but also from Latin America and the Caribbean, to talk about all of the emerging new technologies with regards to distance education.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming to share.
Sure.
I hope to still pull you up. I saw Brock Pierce pass by, means Brock's ready to jump in a
Sure.
moment. And of course, we have other friends that are in that room. But I so value who you are and what you do here and the responsibility you've taken on to volunteer as the president of the Chamber of Commerce. And your starting date is?
It's July 1, effective July 1. We do have the sort of the inauguration ceremony, the oath of, that's on June 8th. But technically and legally, I begin on July 1. But I do also congratulate you to bring all of these new faces that I'm seeing in this event. A lot of these people, this is the first time they've actually come to Puerto Rico or even heard about that. And based on your pitch, we have like at least 5 or 6 people that are just
come on, let's go
that
to
are
Puerto
just
Rico,
bringing in all
everybody.
these resources, and it's just incredible. So I do congratulate you for that,
It's
and
fun.
I look forward to working on some events with you in the chamber.
One last thing before we go to break is I'd like you to share about one or more of the events that are coming up, especially dates on them, so people can mark down their calendar. It's an excuse to come down here to explore. You have dates on at least one, if not a few events that are coming up. First of all, your inauguration. If people want to come meet you on your special day, what time, what day, where is it at?
That's June 8th at the Wyndham Rio Mar Resort. There's actually a golf tournament on the 6th. And there's like horseback riding, there's like all tons of things that are going to be going on those days. And whoever wishes to come down, we could set up a pretty sweet, schedule of activities. It could be like zip lining or whatever it is, that kite surfing.
Yeah, me and Jody are going to kite surf and go on a plane.
Deep sea fishing.
On Sunday.
You can go skydiving.
Come on.
And what happens in Puerto Rico, all of these excursions, they're relatively safe, because we do have to comply with OSHA and all of these different laws, right? So
because you're United States.
Yes. And then we do have quite a lot of other events running during the year.
You have a medical cannabis one.
Yes, we
do. You have the date for that yet?
Well, we'd have to check with Teresita, but that's sort of like the last week of March.
Last week of March 2020.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Do you have an event in August?
Yes, we have an event in August in Plaza Las Americas, which is Entrepreneurship Week. And we're going to have an exhibition. That's the largest shopping mall basically in all the region. And we're going to have, it's just basically a very large exhibition together with a pitch. We're going to be presenting a lot of different pitches from emerging companies here in Puerto Rico. And we're going to be launching also our equity crowdfunding platform in that event as well, which is going to be the first equity crowdfunding platform in Puerto Rico. And actually, thanks to you, we have one guy that actually is working on that, who's Steve Cohen, who we're going to be talking with him possibly to collaborate on that. So, I mean, the resources that you're bringing into this conference is just incredible. A lot of the people I've met the last 2 days.
I'm just glad to be a part of it.
It's just incredible. Thank you so much.
Yes. We'll be back in just a moment after this quick break. My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. So far, we've had folks come share about Puerto Rico's involvement in and the projection of the different spheres of influence, like art, media, philanthropy, family, business, education, and we're about to go over government. And then I'll be bringing Brock Pierce up. We're going to sit in some soft chairs. We're going to take it down a notch and kind of go through his perspective on these different areas in the Puerto Rico ecosystem. I want to take 1 minute to do a couple things. Number one, we're giving away AirPods, and we're giving away lots of CryptoKitties and personal time with me for talking and meeting. Free tickets for upcoming events happening in San Francisco and at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. You have to go to claim.futurecast.swag.live. Claim, like you're claiming something. Claim.futurecast.swag, like a swag bag.live. I also want to mention education in the future. I just want to say this very clearly. If you are in Puerto Rico and you are thinking about the future of education right now, there's a lot of free education available to you. I want to make sure you understand that. The education you can get for free on Facebook, on YouTube, and on decentralized platforms like Steam and others is phenomenal. The education, there's over 10 million students in Creative Live. That's like being creative and live. CreativeLive.com. They have apps on the Apple TV, on your iOS, on your Android, on your desktop computer. Anything in the creative space you can learn most of the time for free. Also, of course, there are podcasts. Amazing people like John Lee Dumas with the Entrepreneur on Fire podcast, Tim Ferriss, Joe Rogan, Ariana Huffington, so many other people doing great podcasts that you can learn basically for free. And the final one I'll mention is Coursera. Coursera is a place where tens of thousands of students take classes from places like Stanford, and it's free. I think you pay $85 if you want a certificate that says you took the class, but you can learn anything. You don't even need a bachelor's degree to take master's degree courses on Coursera. So if you are a person in Puerto Rico saying, I just need to be educated, I would tell you that the future of education is right now and available to you, in many cases for free. And I want to clearly articulate that in case that would be of benefit to anyone. We will be right back to talk about Puerto Rico and government. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. My name is Ian Utilli. I'm having a great time tonight. We're going to talk about government for a moment. Now, it's easy to both glorify and demonize government officials, politicians, as well as the different organizations that they represent. I'm just not a big fan. I'm not into that. I think everybody's pretty awesome for giving it a shot and trying. What I do want to talk about is governance, and I want to talk about some of the things that a person like you face when you're setting up operations in a place like Puerto Rico. You're facing all sorts of governance and all sorts of things, and it's so many things are in your favor here in Puerto Rico, coming from the outside. Plus, you also deal with money and finance. You're building a blockchain company to help coordinate people that want to raise money and people that want to deploy capital in real estate and agriculture.
Well, so actually, what I'm setting up a different project out here, actually. So
Good. So just talk to us a bit about what would relate to governance in Puerto Rico, and you can give background on what you do as well.
Yeah, so Brian Christensen, blockcities.com. I came out here initially when Brock put the call out there for basically helping things in Puerto Rico. This is something that I've been kind of preparing for, for quite a while. And so came out here and more or less we're setting up a makerspace and in such a way that's, self-sustaining. So it's a nonprofit, basically, that we've set up down here. And, from the government side, the truth is every government official that we've met with has been really, really receptive. I know there's obviously a lot of mistakes that have been made in the past and, people that are corrupt out there, but actually my experience has been really positive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And was that what you were expecting in a place that's like the 51st state or the Hong Kong maybe of the United States one day? Were you expecting to have such a pleasant experience as you dealt with the government officials?
I mean, at the end of the day, we're just getting into a position where we're going to be talking, with different foundations and whatnot, and going for different grants. So, yeah, I've yet to, experience firsthand exactly, the materialization of some of the different agreements that are being made. So, at the end of the day, though, in terms of government, really, I don't know if you want to get into actual real governments, type of stuff, but. My thoughts are, by the people, for the people.
Yes.
Right now, democracy is just, illusion. We all know that. There's, direct democracy, and then there's what we have. And, part of what I'm super excited about related to blockchain is that consensus aspect, being able to actually have blockchains that support voting.
That's right.
And we're seeing it start to get implemented, and at some point, it'll reach that tipping point where it'll start to cover everywhere. And, from a governance perspective, that's the key.
Yeah.
Right now, we've got people that represent us that ultimately don't actually represent our interest because they're, the recipient of some type of donation or gift or, whatever the case is.
That's right.
And so that's not real government. That's not what we intended.
I mean, one thing that's amazing about Puerto Rico, when you want to start a maker's space here, or any sort of business environment where you're in partnership with anybody, is that this is becoming more of a decentralized place than others. People call it the crypto utopia, or one of the most important places if you're in the distributed ledger technology space. And so that changes all things when it comes to government and governing, and that's very attractive. Mm-hmm. Why is that so attractive to somebody that's coming from the outside that doesn't have that currently where you live?
I mean, at the end of the day, you can always domicile out of the state or a location that is a little bit, friendlier and, operate out of that. So I feel like if you're smart about it, you can go to the places that are a little bit more cooperative. Puerto Rico, being one of them, you get to see them pass some good legislation that really, protects things like Wyoming has done and other states. But in general, it seems like they're open.
Right.
The hardest part's going to be, the crypto and blockchain community kind of maintaining a positive perception, in the public eye, honestly, because they see a lot of people coming down with money and they don't see that money getting circulated in the actual areas, and that's kind of caused a little bit of a disconnect between the locals.
Yeah, they say that there's between 40 and 80 billion dollars, with the B, 40 to 80 billion dollars of capital, both private and public money, that's being waited to be deployed here. Mm-hmm. So when that happens,
first little bit happened about a week or two ago.
It's amazing, right? And so as these tranches get released, it's going to make a big difference in this region today and as time goes on. I'll be right back with Brock Pierce to jump down into some seats, rest my legs, and talk more about Puerto Rico focused on the future of this region. My name is Ian Utilli. I'm here with my friend Brock Pierce at the Monastery Art Suites in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. Brock, thank you so much for inviting me here. You are a wonderful host and so much more. And we're going to talk about Puerto Rico for a while.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. I'm here because of you.
And thank you for showing up.
I'm so glad I did. When we connected at CES, I just felt magnetized toward the call that you put out, and for many, many reasons. So I'm glad I came a few weeks ago. I'm glad I'm back. If you and I can work out getting direct flights from San Francisco to Puerto Rico, somehow, some way, I got an idea.
Well, I think there was a direct flight prior to Hurricane Maria.
Really?
After the hurricane, people coming to Puerto Rico, tourism just went off a cliff.
Wow.
And so the airlines started canceling a bunch of these important direct flights, things to Europe, things to the West Coast. So what we need to do, I think United had the flight. We need to be petitioning United and saying, give us that route back to Puerto Rico, please.
Thank you for holding back that word for my 6 and 10-year-old Malachi and Kenton. I'm loving you right now. Hope you're enjoying the show. I actually don't know if they're watching, but my great-great-great-great-great-grandson is going to watch one day. So Matthew, this is what I was doing when I was 38 years old.
We're both 38.
We are both 38. You are my elder by just a bit, and so I'm just learning from you. One question at a time.
Well, we learn from each other.
We do. Let's talk about art and entertainment. Puerto Rico today. It's one of the most important art communities in all of the United States per capita. Can you just talk about the vibrant art community in all spheres, painting, food, games, you name it, art in Puerto Rico? What's the state of art in Puerto Rico right now?
Yeah, as you said, Puerto Rico has more artists per capita than anywhere in the United States. So this place has got culture.
Yeah.
This place has got soul. Some of the most creative people you'll find in the United States are here, and you'll know that in 2 seconds when you walk the streets.
Yep.
You can feel it. You see it in everything here. And so what are the things that people have seen? Just some examples of that. The most viewed video in the world, the most viewed video I think there's ever been, is filmed right here in Puerto Rico, just down the street in La Perla.
That's an amazing
known
bar.
as Despacito.
The video's awesome.
Yeah, it's got
But that
6,
bar,
I think, or 7 billion views.
Wow. That bar is out of this world. I've never been in a
and
place like it.
Factoria, which is, also very special.
And that's the big thing about art and entertainment, is that sphere of society is not limited to something that a artist makes and sells that lives on a wall. I mean, Banksy is selling art that he's destroying. Like, art and entertainment has completely transformed. What is some transformative art and entertainment that's happened and happening today in this region?
Well, you also have a tremendous amount of film production here.
Okay.
The Puerto Rican government has created the best, I think it's the best, but certainly one of the best, tax incentives for the film industry to make movies here. The film industry around the world really only makes movies in cities where the government is offering tax incentives.
Yes.
That's why Atlanta became one of the top places, Toronto, Vancouver, etc. The film industry, unless you're in Hollywood, is going where the credits are.
Yep.
And so Puerto Rico has incentivized the film industry, lots of movies being made here, lots of film production here. Just down the street as well, Puerto Rico has incredible poets. You have the Poets Passage right here in
I've heard a lot about that.
Viejo San Juan, which is like the cultural mecca or capital of the old city. Music, obviously, tremendous music coming out of this place, and has been for a long time. Incredible painters, sculptors. I mean, it's holistic.
Yeah.
The only thing I've not seen a bunch of here in the category of arts, because this is as rich as it gets. Truly, Puerto Rico, the rich port, at least as it relates to art and culture.
Yeah.
Oh, food, as you said.
Yum.
I think my favorite restaurant in all of the Caribbean, Michelin star quality restaurant, is just down the street right here on Fortaleza, known as Marmalade.
Yeah.
And the chef Peter's wife is a vegan or vegetarian, and so it has one of, if not the best vegan tasting menu I've found in the world.
Wow.
I mean, it's world class. So incredible food, incredible poetry, incredible art, paintings, sculptures, music,
Amazing.
movies. If you're into the arts, if you like being around creative people and a creative culture, Puerto Rico is one of those places in life you have to visit.
You have to visit. With that, we'll be back in just 2 minutes to talk about the future of art and entertainment in this region and how Puerto Rico is impacting this sphere of influence of society. Welcome to the blockchain ecosystem of all things that Brock Pierce has created. Yesterday we did a fun event called the Global Blockchain Summit, and today we are doing the Global Puerto Rico Summit. And what we're talking about right now is the future of art and entertainment in this region. So I guess if I said, tell me what you'd write in a book if you started laying out the dreams of what could be in this region with art and entertainment in the next decade or so.
Well, it's my dream that by 2030, that Puerto Rico has become a mecca for creative culture. It has more artists per capita than anywhere in the United States. So the raw talent is here, but what Puerto Rico lacks is opportunity.
Okay.
It lacks the outlets for that creative capability, those creative people to turn that talent into product and to monetize those skills in a way where the artists are benefiting. So one of the most important things that I envision for the future is a world where artists are capturing a meaningful amount of value for the value that they deliver to society. Artists are the foundation of the culture of our world.
Yeah.
And artists are always struggling. And so I dream of a future where artists are being remunerated in a way that is appropriate for the value that they provide societally.
It's good.
They're getting the shortest end of the stick.
It's good.
And that's because they're typically creative types, not business types.
Yep.
And so they're normally the ones that are the most taken advantage of. They operate from the heart, which is why what they create is so beautiful and so pure.
Yep.
And the systems of distribution and all the middlemen and all the layers essentially take most of the value that they create, or they find systems to take what they create and plagiarize it, use it, let them monetize it. And so artists are taken advantage of. And so I dream of a future where artists are being, compensated in a way that is appropriate for the value they provide. And I think artists are the foundation of the culture of the world.
Love
Without them, we are lost. Without them, we are lost. And so that's the core of it. I think that Puerto Rico could have a huge film industry. I dream of sound stages and a studio here to make film, to take further advantage of the wonderful incentives that are here and creating all of the jobs associated with that. You know, think of it as the Caribbean version of Hollywood.
That's awesome.
You know, more Pirates of the Caribbean and things of that nature. And again, sound stages, you can film anything here, but also look at the beautiful environment. All of those sort of tropical things that you can do, all of those ocean things that you can do, all of those beach things that you can do.
Yeah.
I dream of a world where artists are creating NFTs, they're creating digital art. Crypto-based art, collectibles that are going out there. And so if I was a Puerto Rican artist today, I would be studying blockchain and look at the way that you can start creating your own NFTs and things of that nature and getting that art out beyond the island into the hands of people all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, at scale.
You know, on that, since you brought up NFTs, I want to thank Dapper Labs and CryptoKitties. They gave us 100 CryptoKitties to give away to people that are watching the live stream.
Meow.
And they also gave you and myself and one lucky person that will get a special CryptoKitty called the Kit E. So if you see a little cat on the bottom of the screen, right over here somewhere, there's a little cat right here. Kind of looks like a Wall-E cat. You get one, I get one, we give one away. What do you see in the future of art that's digital that Puerto Rico can impact over the course of the next decade?
Well, you have a small island with just over 3 million people, but there's so much talent. And so if you want that talent to really scale and impact the world, you have to figure out how to distribute that art beyond, you know, to the billions of people around the planet. And this is one of the most interesting, the best ways to do it today. Another thing that I dream of for Puerto Rico is art experiences like Meow Wolf, and like Dreamscape in Salt Lake City. You know, the things like Cirque du Soleil, there's so much talent here. Create those experiences. You know, that's something that I would love to do, you know, while here. Music, more recording studios, more artists coming down here to, you know, capture the moment. This place, you walk through it, and you've been transported to an enchanted island.
No doubt about
it. Being here, it is a dream. If you've never been to Puerto Rico and you like beautiful places, you like being surrounded by, you know, visually stimulating things, this is one of the most amazing places on the planet. Come check it out.
Yes. We'll be back in just a moment to talk about news and media and what's happening right here, right now, in terms of coverage and the ecosystem of news being distributed out of Puerto Rico. See you in just a moment, and thank you for your attention. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. My name is Ian Utilli, and I'm here with my friend Brock Pierce.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up.
So glad I'm here. We're going to talk about news and media. How do you feel about the news coverage, the media coverage of Puerto Rico in the world ecosystem? How do you feel about it today as it is right now?
So one of the things I joke about in the context of Puerto Rico is that Puerto Rico, or PR, has a PR problem. One of the main PR problems is that most people don't know what Puerto Rico is, where Puerto Rico is, or that it's even part of the United States.
Right.
So many people confuse it with Costa Rica. They're like Puerto Costa. It gets confused. When you're going through the airport in the United States and through customs and you say you're on your way to Puerto Rico, customs officials don't know that Puerto Rico is part of the United States. This is a problem that's pervasive. Now, Hurricane Maria, like all things, there's two sides to every coin.
Yeah.
I like coin references, naturally. And so one of the things that happened in terms of the good aspect of Hurricane Maria is it created a lot of awareness for Puerto Rico. You know, a lot of people had never really heard of it or understood where it was, what it was, that it was part of the United States. So at least it put Puerto Rico on the map in a way that created some sympathy and at least got people from a heart perspective connected. And it created a call to action that brought a lot of good people, a lot of first responders down to the island.
That's good.
That brought back that experience and shared it with their friends. They shared it with their social circles. And the types of people that are first responders to disasters and challenges in the world are the types of people we want to be around.
So good.
And the types of people they hang around are naturally good people. So that did bring, you know, because you can attract, like attracts like.
Yep.
And so it did at least create some awareness amongst the right types of people.
Yeah.
But Puerto Rico still has a PR problem. It needs a lot more. Most people don't know how beautiful Puerto Rico is. They don't understand how it's one of the most amazing places. It's the most underappreciated part of the United States. Even its history is misunderstood. You know, we're at the southern apex of the Bermuda Triangle. It's almost like this island, its history and everything about it has been hidden, you know, by some Bermuda fog or something. It's like the compass is just spinning and no one can find it. But we're here, and you know, it's a magical place. I encourage everyone to come down here. I mean, other things. There's 3 bioluminescent bays. You've got rainforest. You can go kiteboarding and surfing. It's the best surfing in the entire east coast of the United States. It's the best kiteboarding.
I'm going wind.
And you can hike to the top of a rainforest and be on a board within the same hour. This isn't like Los Angeles where you can be skiing and surfing.
I'm coming back here to paddle surf.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to do here. The islands, it's the food, the culture, the everything. So Puerto Rico needs more media. Puerto Rico needs PR. Let this be a call to action for any of you that, you know, are looking for an excuse to come do some reporting, to come record some video, to come tell some stories. There's so much here to be told.
I have a question for you. So media's watching,
and you'll have the time of your life.
You will have the time of your life. Let's say media's watching, Time Magazine, it doesn't matter what it is, magazine, video-based, even a podcast with a huge audience.
And this is a perfect example. Thank you for doing
I'm here.
this. What Puerto Rico needs is awareness.
And so somebody comes, or they want to come, how can you provide a little bit of infrastructure for a legitimate media person or company that has a real audience that can get real attention and real influence for Puerto Rico? What can you and your network do for somebody that's in media?
Well, what does the media ultimately want at the end of the day? They want good stories.
Yep.
You know, good or bad. They tend to prefer the negative because, unfortunately, that's what most of us tend to consume. You know, we forget that, you know, what we ingest, what we take in affects, you know, us. And that's the important thing, too. The call to action is we want the right people down here.
Yeah.
You know, we want the awareness of Puerto Rico reaching the right people where it resonates. You know, we want your audience. You know, we want people that are trying to make the world a better place, that are, you know, walking in the light.
It's good.
You know, so, you know, all press is good press, but if we can choose it, let's, you know, choose the best press that connects with the best people, that attracts, you know, the best that there is to offer. And so, I mean, I'm prepared to do all that I can. There's incredible stories, amazing things happening here. And that's what we need to do ultimately for the media, is connect the incredible stories with those people that have the platforms that know how to tell it.
I love it. We're going to go to a quick break for just 1 minute. We're going to be right back to talk about news and media, Puerto Rico, and what we project over the next decade. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit. My name is Ian Utilli. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm here with Brock Pierce. We're talking about the future of Puerto Rico in regards to the sphere of influence of society that is news and media.
And the future is bright.
It is no shadows. It is blinding. What type of headline would you want to write about Puerto Rico 10 years from now when the wind is in this region's sails and it is a graced place and prosperity and abundance, it is seen as an example of that in the future?
I think if I could write the future.
Yep, write it.
This story, looking back 10 years from today, is that Puerto Rico, that has suffered for 500 years, going back to Christopher Columbus's arrival. You know, Christopher Columbus's first stop was in the Dominican Republic, but that's not where he set up shop. The first city created in the New World is right here in Viejo or Old San Juan. This is where Columbus set up shop. All of Europe's influence on the Americas and all the indigenous people, it started right here. This is ground zero.
Amazing.
And Puerto Rico has suffered for 500 years.
Wow.
You know, through the Spanish, to the transfer to America, you know, it's been colonialized over and over and over again. People coming down here, promising the world, and then never delivering and taking advantage. It is a very, very, very sad story. But, you know, it's always darkest before the dawn. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. So, you know, massive debt, Hurricane Maria, corruption, all the things. You know, not the first state, not the 51st state, but the forgotten state. But we have the power to write the end of this story. So what kind of story would we like to see? I'd like to see a story of change. I'd like to see a story that inspires the rest of the world, that we can create a better world, that there is hope, that we have that ability. Puerto Rico has the potential to be the future, to lead the world in renewable energies, to lead the world in sustainable permaculture, agriculture, to lead the world in blockchain and titling systems and smart grid technology. You know, Puerto Rico has the potential to be that place of great prosperity that allows all of the other places around the planet that are suffering to say, there is a possibility. The world might be better for us. I dream of a world where Puerto Rico is the first lighthouse that changes the perspective of the world. I mean, what's happened is everyone's been migrating to the New Yorks, the Londons, the Hong Kongs, the San Franciscos, intellectual capital. The brain drain hasn't just been hurting Puerto Rico, but the whole world. Because if you want opportunity, you had to go to these major hubs. You know, you had to go be part of that. But because of technology, that's no longer the case. The lesson right now as part of the fourth industrial revolution is to get out of the concrete jungles, to get out of the rat race, to stop paying crazy taxes and living in places with, you know, extremely high costs of living, where you're just treading water to survive if you can. And only the very few fortunate are really able to make it there. It's time to go back out into the world, to go to these amazing places that have been suffering due to the brain drain, and to be part of that brain gain movement, to bring the best and the brightest, the intellectual capital, the human capital, the spiritual capital, the financial capital, back to the places in need. Amazing. Where we can all win together. You know, that's, I think, what the opportunity is, and that's why I'm here in Puerto Rico, is to help contribute to that lighthouse, that bright potential future that we can collectively co-create. You know, and it takes teamwork to make this dream work.
That's right.
And the future is bright.
Yes. I buy in. You know, I live in Santa Cruz. It's south of San Francisco. I never go to Santa Cruz and think to myself, I'd love for this to change. I'd love for this to improve. Like, there's something about Santa Cruz that I'm like, Santa Cruz is just an awesome place as it is. Redding, California, on the other hand, I go to Redding and I like literally just, I have visions. I see Redding in 25 years being another Paris, being another Dubai. Nothing like Paris and Dubai, but an important city. When I first came here 3 weeks ago, I had a bunch of emotions. One was, I like the local people like I like the Filipinos. And it was just powerful. I remember thinking like, wow, this is really good people. The next one was, I was very delighted and surprised. My expectations were way exceeded. It reminded me when I went to Stockholm, Sweden. Like, what the hell is this place? Why didn't I know about this place? And the third thing is, I've been having consistent vision, daydream visions. It's just, I'm just playing games in my mind. Consistent vision of the prosperity, the abundance, the enlightenment, and not just for the land, but for the businesses, for the families, for the people. I just see these things happening here. And so I say, I intuitively declare over Puerto Rico that you will prosper in a way that will exceed your wildest dreams. Each family can have incredible abundance in this place, and what has been locked up will be released in a new and profound way. And with that...
From your lips to God's ears.
Come on. And with that, we'll be back in just 1 minute to talk about Puerto Rico and philanthropy and so much more. I'm wearing this shirt, on earth as in heaven. I want to thank my friend Suzanne for making this epic shirt. I have two of them. I wore one yesterday. It's just different. It's white. And we were just saying a moment ago, in Puerto Rico as in heaven. I want to talk about the two sides of faith in my mind. One side is worship, the process of bringing contentment and gratitude and thankfulness to the unseen, the Creator. The other side of faith to me is philanthropy, the process of saying, I have faith that I'm going to give money and make a sacrifice financially because I believe in the good that will come of it. Can you please talk about that whole entire sphere of faith today, worship and philanthropy in the Puerto Rico region?
I spend a lot of my time talking to people that come down here that have been blessed with abundance. And many of those people come down here because of the tax incentives. And for me, if you're going to be the beneficiary of those incentives, you better pay it back. These incentives were created to bring prosperity to the island.
That's good.
And so I'm like that watchdog that, will always be asking about how are you giving back? I know that you're receiving a lot from this island, and what are you giving back? And I become a bit of a ball buster. When people are like, I'm like,
I told my dad about that. So I told my dad because, as an entrepreneur, sometimes we have events that are wonderful events in life that free up resources. And I'm like, hey, these things are happening and Puerto Rico's looking really good, if not for me, because our family's here in Santa Cruz, like for others. And he's like, you're going to save all, you guys save all this money in taxes. I'm like, but time out. May not be law, but Brock Pierce ain't going to let me save a bunch of money and not reinvest back into Puerto Rico. He made that one real clear when I met him.
And I've been doing that to everybody because that's what it's about. It's got to be win-wins for everyone. The opportunity is normally we go through life, and when we give back, you know, we've done our hard work, we've lived in our high-cost cities that are hard to survive in, with high costs of living, with our high taxes and everything else, but we still should always be giving something back. You know, when you're blessed with abundance, you know, one of the most important ways of expressing that gratitude to the universe is by giving to those that are less fortunate, in whatever means, whatever calls to you. And in Puerto Rico, this is the perfect place to do it because you get so much.
Yeah.
You save so much, which means you have more to give. And even net, you may end up with more at the end of the day than you had before, and you gave more than ever before.
So good.
So that's that perfect sort of scenario where you create that confluence of events where everybody starts to win. You know, rising tides raise all ships.
Yep.
You know, I like to think of this in a very sort of almost Robin Hood sort of fashion. You know, you have the ability to legally, you know, save tremendously on taxes, but you do that so that you can philanthropically give back to the people and the causes that are most important to you.
That's great.
And, you know, you're always going to give. The question is, are you giving it to the government in the form of taxes?
Right.
Or are you giving it to the causes that resonate with you directly, where you get to see the impact of those funds that you give? You get to connect with the people and the lives that you're changing, or the earth that you're saving.
That's good.
You know, it's a powerful thing. And once you start to see the impact of your actions, once you get to see the impact of your giving, it's the greatest gift there is giving. When you start to feel in yourself what's happening and the impact and the beauty and watching the lives that you're touching, the greatest gift there is giving.
It's a celebration.
And once you start to learn to give, and when you give with no expectation of anything in return, the universe, there's this saying that what you give, you get back tenfold. I truly believe in this. I truly believe the more you give, the more you get, but it has to be done in the spirit of authenticity, not with any expectation of anything in return, not because you're hoping other people will notice what you did and they're going to think more highly of you. You know, the greatest gift is the anonymous gift. You know, it's a very Satoshi sort of mentality. You know, we're not here to, you know, to stroke our egos. We're here to, like, you know, quietly, you know, when we go to bed at night and we know in ourselves, as we judge ourselves and our actions, that, you know, you're living a good life. You are, you know, growing spiritually. You are you're aspiring to achieve your highest, greatest potential. I call it Satoshi consciousness. You know, some people call it Christ consciousness, or, you know, it goes by many names, whatever resonates with you.
That's good. Well, I'm loving this conversation so very much. We're coming back to talk about the future of faith, the future of philanthropy or worship in Puerto Rico, and to discuss how might that manifest itself over the next decade or more time as this place becomes more and more enlightened and in tune with what we are discussing. We'll be right back in 1 minute. Welcome to the Global Puerto Rico Summit, where we are talking with Brock Pierce, my friend, who I find I have more and more and more in common with every single micro 5-minute conversation.
Well, it's back to I am you and you are me, because we're all one, ultimately.
Well, that certainly is showing itself right now. And it shows itself through your other speaking. You know, as I wanted to get to know you better, as I was coming back, looking at some of the videos, and very much resonating with the way you see the world, the way you speak about all things and the way that you project the future. For context, I will say this as we talk about the future of philanthropy and the future of worship. I would break down a human person like this. This is my breakdown. You know, you have your body, it's in relationship with the earth. You have your mind in relationship with yourself. You have your soul in relationship with another, and your spirit in relationship with, you can call it God. Some people have a very specific name and pathway that they like to follow. What I'd like to talk with you about is the future of faith, the future of worship, the future of philanthropy or religion, whatever word you want to put on it, for Puerto Rico. Really specifically, how do you think Puerto Rico can transform the entire ecosystem of the 7.5 and growing billion people around the world? What deep root will Puerto Rico drive that will cause the world to say, wow, like that is a lighthouse. We want our region to be like that place. What does that look like in a decade?
Yeah, a decade from now, Puerto Rico being that lighthouse that ultimately inspires the world and helps us understand our potential, what we are capable of. We live in really complicated times right now. It's very easy to get depressed, but what do we need to change to ultimately inspire the rest of the world? It's the awareness, it's the consciousness of our interactions with each other and our interactions with the earth. It's the idea that, you know, give as much as you take. It's learning to find that balance. You know, one of the main problems that we have in the world right now is this scarcity mentality. The idea that I got to take because, you know, we've created this environment that for me to win, you have to lose.
Yeah.
And that's what's created this sort of vicious cycle, this compound annual growth rate mentality of just grow for growth's sake.
Yeah.
But what's at stake? The future of humanity. And the way that we're going to break through that is with this concept of the abundance mentality.
Yeah.
It's being socially responsible. It's leaving things, you know, leave no trace. Don't throw trash on the ground.
Yep.
You know, put everything in the right place. But that only creates sustainability. We need regeneration right now, which is to leave things better than you found it.
Yeah, that's good.
It doesn't take that many of us to change the trajectory that the planet is on. And that has to start in small places like an island in Puerto Rico. And if we start to operate with an abundance mentality, when we start to act consciously, when we start to respect and have compassion for each other, when we operate out of the fourth chakra, operate out of our hearts, and leave things better than we found it, it doesn't take that many of us to create that chain reaction that begins to heal the earth and heal each other, that allows us to begin to ascend to that fourth dimension of consciousness. That's what's possible here. And we can, back to that lighthouse, you know, each of the lights inside of each of us has the ability to ignite that light in others. And you do that by leading through example, by being the light of the world. You know, that is what is possible here. That is that awakening process that is what that enlightening process that's happening here is. It's to inspire each other by living and doing our best to achieve our highest possible potential. That Satoshi consciousness, that Christ consciousness, that Buddha consciousness, that Moses, that Muhammad, you know, whatever it is that resonates with you.
So good.
And
So good. I'm loving this conversation so much. You are welcome that we are live here at the Monastery Art Suites in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, and that we're having this awesome conversation that I am so much enjoying. We'll be back in 1 minute. The next topic is family. How is Puerto Rico impacting families today? How will Puerto Rico impact family and families in the next decade? Cheers, my friend.
You are a unicorn.
I am a black unicorn with a chrome horn, and I am feeling horny right now. Can we, for those that don't know, I'm Ian Utility. This is Brock Pierce, because you may have just tuned in. Congratulations, you found something very special. We're here in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico at the Monastery Art Suites. I'm here with you, who I'm grateful to be with, and we're going to talk about family. How is Puerto Rico impacting families? Let me set this up first. I have had a dozen or so people that have come here on the Act 20 and 22 provision for them to move their family here. These are, they've been almost all fathers, some mothers, with kids about the age of my sons. I have two boys, 6 and 10 years old, Kenton and Malachi. I miss you. I want to snuggle. I'm coming home soon. And when I think about what they've told me, I'll take just John Lee Dumas. So he was talking about community. He's like, honestly, Ian, we've never had community in anywhere we've lived like we have here. He's like, and all of my friends that have no reason to try and talk to me about how it impacts their kids won't stop talking to me about how Puerto Rico's impacted their kids. He's like, I don't even have kids. So that's kind of the foundational baseline. Can you take it from here and talk about how does Puerto Rico, this culture, this environment, impact families?
Yeah, there's a bunch of just interesting data in regards to Puerto Rico about family. One thing to be mindful of is when Hurricane Maria hit and the island was without power and all of the challenges and the difficulties here, the Puerto Rican people came together and supported each other like a big family.
Yeah.
You didn't have the looting, you didn't have the violence, you didn't have the things when you have a systemic failure in the system that you see often in many places around the world. So that is a very powerful testament to the culture, that family, that moral fabric that exists here. Some really interesting other stuff. The first mayor in the female mayor in the United States was here in San Juan.
Wow.
It's a matriarchal culture. This is not a patriarchy, it's a matriarchy historically. Wow. And so I think a big aspect of family is in gender alchemy. It's ultimately in the rise of women. You know, one of the big things that's happened is, women have been at a disadvantage for a very long time.
Yep.
And Puerto Rico is different. Puerto Rico is one of those places where, there's female power. It's present, it's strong, it's historical, it's a matriarchal system.
Yeah.
So that's something that separates Puerto Rico from everywhere else. It's one of the only places in the world where women on average make more than men.
Wow.
I think the number, I think in terms of STEM students, female STEM students, Puerto Rico's ranked number 1 in the country.
Yeah, that's what Jose said.
So, I mean, these are just some things. And when you start thinking about the family structure, so much of that is in the mother. It's in that mother energy. It's in that goddess energy. And Puerto Rico has that.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot to learn from Puerto Rico and its culture. And this is something that isn't just limited to Puerto Rico. This is something that we can learn from wherever you live in the world. Respect women.
Yeah.
Treat them with we all come from women.
Yes.
Without that mother, none of us are here.
Yep.
And don't forget that.
No.
Don't forget that. And it's often lost on many of us men. And if you want to make the world a better place, it starts with each and every one of us and how we treat our mothers and how we treat our sisters and how we treat the women in our community. And Puerto Rico is a place to inspire us and to help us as men to be better men.
Wow.
To be guardians.
We both have 10-year-old sons.
I have daughters.
You have daughters.
I have 2 daughters.
So
a 10-year-old daughter and
a
2-month-old daughter as of today.
Okay, I thought you're 10-year-old. Okay, good. So thanks for.
Part of the reason you'll hear I've got 2 daughters, so I'm like all about. I treat women as well as I possibly can.
I'll say off the camera, like I see the way you treat women, and it's very, very honorable, very respectful. Your 10-year-old daughter, you've talked about like you'd love for her to be here. What would be the benefit in your mind for your 10-year-old adolescent daughter to be in this environment from a family perspective?
Well, I think getting out of the big cities for one, Do you want to raise your kids in a concrete jungle where there's little to no nature? You know, I want my kids to grow up and connect with Mother Earth, to connect with Gaia, to walk through rainforests, to swim in the ocean, you know, to enjoy the beauties of what Mother Earth has to offer. And Puerto Rico's got great education. The Waldorf School is here. Many others. You've got, you know, I ultimately don't want my kids growing up in big cities.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the culture and the lifestyle that I think we as human beings are supposed to live in. And so, yeah, I think this is a great place for kids.
Yeah. Well, this is so good. We'll be back in just a moment. We're going to be talking about the future of Puerto Rico and families, and cast some vision around what family ecosystems will be like for Puerto Ricans and the expats that have moved their families here. We'll be back in just 1 minute. My name is Ian Utilli. I'm here with Brock Pierce in the Monastery Art Suites. We're in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. This is the Global Puerto Rico Summit, and we are very happy that you are giving us your attention. Please post comments. This video is being live streamed across, I don't know, maybe as many as 100 social media sites. If you counted all the shares and things, certainly it must be above that. It's streamed through your YouTube page, your Facebook page, mine, several others, Twitter account. You can basically see this everywhere right now.
Like it, follow it, subscribe to it, smash it, comment. Thank you.
And do all that because this is worth listening to. We are talking about things that we've never talked about before. This is like basically jumping out of an airplane. And I have no idea what's to come. I don't know what you're going to say next. I am so excited. I'm on the edge of my seat. We're going to talk about family over the next decade and the impact that the Puerto Rican culture will have on families that are here, and the impact that Puerto Rico will have as a lighthouse to the rest of the world. Because one thing that is so very significant that I've come to realize in the Puerto Rican culture is family. And I think that over the next decade, Puerto Rico will become a lighthouse when it comes to all things family. So can you tell us, 2030, what is the world saying about Puerto Rico and the family ecosystem?
Well, it'll be one of those lighthouses of a matriarchal society where women are honored, respected, where the gender alchemy has occurred, where the goddess energy, we all come from the mother. And I think that's a big aspect of it. And remember, it takes a village. We often think of parents as just two, individuals, a mother and a father.
Yeah.
But ultimately, kids learn through all of that sort of societal infrastructure. And so, rising tides raise all ships. And so I think that, Puerto Rico has that potential of reinventing in some ways that moral fabric.
Yeah.
Bringing us back to doing things as well as we possibly can. Leading by example. When we show up with the best of intentions, when we choose to live our lives to our highest potential.
Yeah.
And when kids not only see that in our parents and are inspired, through the behavior and the lessons and the imitation of the things that we do, and you get a critical mass of people in that lighthouse culture emerging, the next generation You know, the next generation of kids that can come from in Puerto Rico as in heaven,
Yeah.
you know, can be that generation
Yeah.
that leads the way, you know, into heaven on earth
Yes.
and inspires that throughout the rest of the world. And that's on every modality.
You know, one thing I've thought about how your vision to impact families over the next decade through Puerto Rico is your concept of building like an Apple store-like crypto utopic retail spot next to where the cruise ships come. So every day cruise ships come, families get off the boats, at least, you know, husbands and wives get off even if they don't have their kids with them. And they come out and you're like, I'm going to build something, not because it's going to make money, because it's going to change the world. And it's going to be a place like an Apple store. It's going to be glass and gorgeous and beautiful. You'll walk in and set up your wallets and get familiar with cryptocurrency and make your first investments, not just speculative, but like actually making logical decisions. And I love how you talk about like, hey, figure out the top 10, pick 5. Just that process of picking 5 allows you to figure out stuff about this ecosystem. How could you fathom that if you do that, if you are successful with that vision and you build that, how could you fathom just that one thing and introducing cryptocurrency and decentralized currency to families that just come by for one afternoon, and how that could transform their entire family lineage over the course of the next decade?
Well, that's the reason I live and like Viejo or Old San Juan so much. Millions and millions of people come through this city because of its beauty, because of its historical importance on cruise ships. Which means we have the potential through the things we do here to inspire and allow people to leave and bring those lessons, to bring those teachings, to bring that knowledge back home to wherever they go throughout the rest of the world. It's back to that lighthouse mentality.
Yeah.
It's ultimately in what we teach. And it's learning how to take complex ideas, powerful messages, and simplify them in a way that people can understand simply.
Yeah.
In a way that, you know, strikes a chord, that hits that nerve,
Yep.
so that they have that eureka, that aha moment, and they're inspired to do something.
Yeah.
They're inspired to go and learn something new so that they can make informed decisions for themselves, so that they can improve their lives. I'm all about teaching. I'm not about telling people what to do. I'm about, you know, teach someone how to fish,
Yeah.
not give someone a fish.
Yeah.
And that concept in everything I do.
So good.
It's
Well-
educate, not sell.
Yeah. We're going to take a 1-minute break. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk about business in Puerto Rico and the state of all things business today. Thank you for your attention. We'll be right back. My name is Ian Utilli. I'm here with Brock Pierce, and we are at the Monastery Art Suites in Old San Juan, and we're having a blast talking about Puerto Rico, the future, and the different spheres of society that Puerto Rico is both influencing, being influenced by today, and what we project and hope for in the future. We've already covered the topics of art, entertainment, of news, media, of faith, you could say worship or philanthropy, it's all the same thing, and family. Now we're going to jump into business, which really the two of us are lifetime entrepreneurs. All we've done, no matter what the sphere has been we've done business. We've started things, we've made things happen. That's what makes us unique and challenging for some people that work with us. So let's talk about business in Puerto Rico. 2,000 people have moved here under the Act 2022 provision. 2,000 more have signed up and are qualifying to move here. Talk to me about the state of business in Puerto Rico today.
I think of Puerto Rico as, a land of opportunity right now for Puerto Ricans first and foremost. A couple of major things happening. You have massive amounts of aid coming from the federal government, so there's an influx of capital that is going to create a bunch of opportunity for businesses on the island. The governor has just passed major legislation around renewable energy and clean energy. Puerto Rico is essentially now the capital of the United States for clean energy. So if you are in the renewable energy business and you are not following what's happening in Puerto Rico, stop what you're doing. And probably pause the video right now and you need to go look it up, and you might need to get on a plane immediately, because if you care about that business, you need to be here.
Can you explain? They go to Google and they type in what exactly?
Clean energy Puerto Rico, green energy Puerto Rico, and look at the recent legislation the last couple months coming out of Puerto Rico. Very, very important. You also have this new thing called opportunity zones, or qualified opportunity zones, which is the most important tax legislation in the last 50 years. And that's where if someone has made a capital gain, they've had a return on investment from something they've done, you can now take that capital gain, the part that you would be paying tax for, and you can invest that into a part of the United States that is in need of economic stimulus. And there's many regions, many places throughout the United States that are these qualified opportunity zones. Puerto Rico, 96% of the island is a qualified opportunity zone. So if you have had a capital gain this year, and if you're not familiar with this, pause this video and go look up qualified opportunity zones. If you write a check to the IRS, you are a fool. You have the ability to write a check into an investment, into a place that needs it. The IRS has passed this legislation so that you can give that money, invest that money into a place that needs help. And you can manage that. And if you keep that investment for 10 years, you basically pay no tax. Puerto Rico has created a 15% tax credit on top of it, making it the best possible place in the country if you have capital gains to invest. Pause this video, go look it up now. It is use it or lose it. You have to invest that money within 6 months of making that capital gain.
Wow.
Every second counts. Invest in Puerto Rico.
It's amazing to think how many people might be watching this, if not live, tomorrow, this week, the archive, that are at 5 months, 2 weeks. They're going to hear this, and just access to information from another entrepreneur can make such a huge difference.
Well, knowledge is power. Everything is about information, ultimately. That's why it's about education. There's a startup culture here.
Talk about innovation here.
Yep, innovation here. If you are a San Francisco entrepreneur, a New York entrepreneur, an international entrepreneur, and you care about working with government, and you've got ideas of how to build advanced voting systems, smart grids, whatever it might be, if you're into fintech, if you're into just startups in general, if you're into startups in the Latin American community, this is becoming one of the fastest growing, most interesting startup cultures on the planet. You had essentially no startups that had ever raised money here the last couple of years. You now have 6 that have just raised $1 million. You're watching accelerators, incubators, co-working facilities. This stuff is popping up left and right. You have an abundance of engineers, the number 15 engineering school on the planet. Puerto Rico's number 1 export is human beings, specifically engineers, to places like Facebook, NASA, Google. And there is a wave of talented people coming from San Francisco and New York and saying, I'd rather live here and build the next unicorn. This is a unicorn breeding ground, and I think that I can't wait to see the first unicorn pop out of Puerto Rico. What does this coffee cup say? You are a unicorn, and this might be speaking to one of you watching.
Come on. I'm glad you're here. I'm grateful for your attention. I'm really enjoying this thoroughly. We're going to be right back. In 1 minute, we're going to be talking about our decade projection of the business ecosystem here in Puerto Rico. Welcome to the Monastery Art Suites here in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. If you've seen the videos that are going across the screen, Eli Bottom, one of the legendary videographers of all time, one of my favorite people I've ever traveled with, and Sean Buckley, Jesse Maitland, Bryant Jaquez, Landy Woolworth, and all the rest of my friends that are in California running the show with us right now. We know you're there. You're all incredible. You make all this happen. And I think that's the future of business, is to honor and acknowledge the people that really are behind everything. Because we're sitting here having this passionate conversation, but we get access to the world because of our friends.
It takes teamwork. It takes a band.
There's no doubt about it.
The unsung heroes.
That's right. Now, Eli went outside today, and he hyperlapsed several dozen places around outside. I'm talking like if you come here, go to monastery.club. If you want to stay in this place, go to monastery.club. You can stay in one of the suites here. And if you come here, you walk outside, and all those hyperlapses that you're seeing, that's all within 5 minutes. And if Brock Pierce is here, he'll take you on the best tour you ever been on in your life. It's the best going on a tour of San Juan with you.
I feel like a tour guide at this point.
You are the ultimate tour guide. Now, I mentioned all that because we're talking about the future of business. And I want to mention something that we're doing that's very futuristic. And it's not just the fact that we're here in Puerto Rico live streaming to all these accounts, which is unusual, obviously, that you live stream to 100 different social media accounts at once.
Perhaps unprecedented in Puerto Rico.
I hope it's the very first time. I love being a forerunner because it's just fun to take risk. So, I'm addicted to risk. Mostly trying to take safe risks, but I don't always succeed. Now, back to the future of business. We have something special for you. If you go to claim.futurecast.swag.live, that is claim.futurecast.swag.live, and you'll see a banner down here at some point. There's a little crypto kitty. There's an AirPod giveaway. Basically, if you go to that, what will happen is you're going to quickly sign up. And it's been said it takes less than a minute. I'll say it takes less than 5 minutes because I hope to delight you by not exaggerating. So, but it's very quick to do. And when you go there, you will qualify to get a free AirPod. Picking one person, you'll qualify to get a crypto kitty. We're giving away to the first several dozen people that qualify rightly. And we're giving away a special crypto kitty, which Brock and myself are getting, and one other lucky person. Time with me. As well as tickets to some future events at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, as well as San Francisco DocuSign's headquarters. And so all sorts of giveaways. This is unique. Not doing giveaways, but doing it through a digital swag bag. It's unique to have an entire summit where, okay, sure, there's people out here in front of us. There's people over there having fun. There's parties going on all over the place. But really, you are our audience. Like, we are here giving you the very best of who we are. It is for you. It is a gift. And on top of that gift, we're giving you more with no expectation. I do not expect you to like, share, comment, smash, or blow a horn. I just think that you should. Not for vain desire, but because you get this for free, dude. You get it? Like, this is a gift Don't you like to share gifts? It's the gift that keeps on giving. There's no end in the breadbasket. There's no end of the fish you can pull out and give to others. You just press share. You just press a comment. Plus, if you post comments, I'm taking comments and integrating them into our talks. So do that. My team is tuned in. And with very little time, although we could just go long on this one, let's jump into the future of business. And I would love for you to talk about what you see the ecosystem of all of the Puerto Rico's ecosystem, 2030 and beyond. How is this a lighthouse of business in 10 years?
Well, the future is decentralized.
Come on.
The future is distributed. The future is abundant. The future is loving. And so the future is conscious. The future has all of these sorts of attributes, and Puerto Rico has the potential to do all of these things. The future is resilient. The future of Puerto Rico is blessed. I mean, I can go down every rabbit hole. The future is what we make it.
And for all the Puerto Ricans that are watching, all the Act 20 and 22 expats that are watching, all those that are thinking of moving here that are watching, you are that special person. You are the one that manifests that reality. You're not here as a spectator. You're not coming as a spectator. You are the star of the game. You are the first string. You are the captain. You're the one that manifests this destiny. It is your purpose. It is your passion. It is your desire to come and to make your life meaningful, to figure out your genius, and to actually do something that will matter and that will build a legacy for time to come. That's your invitation. Congratulations. And with that, we'll be back to talk about education and what the ecosystem is here in Puerto Rico in just 1 minute. My name is Ian Utilli. This is Brock Pierce. We are here to enjoy each other's presence, to learn from one another, and to have you welcome into our spot to participate in our conversation. That's what's amazing about live streaming a global summit is we have people that signed up to watch this from all over the world. North America, the West Coast, Midwest, East Coast, Central America, South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, the Caribbean. The whole world has tuned in to hear about Puerto Rico today. And of course, the audience will be much more broad as we leverage the archive video. And so let's talk about the state of education in Puerto Rico today. I'd love to hear what you've learned about education and how it's like, where's it at right now in this region?
Yeah, a bunch of things that most people don't know about Puerto Rico. Certainly based upon what you've read, maybe what you've heard. Puerto Rico has more bachelor degrees per capita than anywhere in the United States.
It's amazing.
So Puerto Rico is a very educated population.
Amazing.
Lacking opportunity, but that's an opportunity itself, right?
Yeah.
It has the number 15 engineering school in the United States. So Puerto Rico has lots of engineers, incredible engineering. I think it's ranked number 1 in terms of female STEM students. So Puerto Rico's educated. The thing that I think is most important, though, as we have a conversation about education today, is that the future of education is probably not in the university structure, even though there is a very good university here. Most of what we're learning today in school isn't what we need to know for the world of tomorrow. You know, we're going through, the world is changing faster and faster and faster. We're going into this fourth industrial revolution. And most of what we need to be learning today are skills. It's about developing skills. Imagine if you were living in a video game, a role-playing game. It's ultimately, you know, training your avatar to have skills that are going to be useful for the things that you want to do. And so it's less about a general education today. It's more about making sure that you have the skills of tomorrow, and all of that information, all of that knowledge is at your fingertips. You essentially have infinite knowledge at your fingertips today through your phone, through your computer. And it's about saying, this is what I want to learn, and being proactive and going out there to learn it, and then learning the next thing, and then that inspiring you and taking you down the next rabbit hole. It's investing in yourself, investing in your education, and then taking that knowledge and putting it to work. You know, it's like I often talk about with blockchain. Whether you think in blockchain or cryptocurrency is interesting, the investment you can make in yourself is, you know, go get your first $5, get your first $100 worth of cryptocurrency, and that might be it. But it's learning how to download a wallet. It's learning how to buy that first or convert or exchange for that first little bit of cryptocurrency. It's learning about that second one. And it's through that process. You know, I could talk to you about, back in the day, to use email as an example, I could talk to you about email until I'm blue in the face. You know, downloading that application and sending your first message, creating that account. And starting to see, wow, I used to have to write letters and it would take days to get where it's going. I can now, just press a button? And the message gets there instantly?
So good.
You learn a lot about the potential of something by using it. Just, you know, roll up your sleeves and go try things. You know, we have infinite resources, infinite skills, infinite knowledge available to us for free right now. You know, the major universities, MIT, Stanford, they offer their educations. Many of those programs, those courses, that knowledge is available for free. You don't need to be accepted into an Ivy League university anymore to have an Ivy League education. You might not have the degree, but who cares today? It's about empowering yourself for the future, you know, the world of tomorrow. And that's not just for Americans. You can do this from anywhere in the world. You don't need to be born, you know, with a silver spoon. You don't have to, you know, come from the right city anymore. The world has been empowered. All you need is a device and an internet connection. Go out there and make yourself the best possible person you can, so you can create that best possible life for yourself.
I mean, that's what this is. That's what the Global Puerto Rico Summit is. It's a 4-hour education. It's a 4-hour education right here, right now. For those that really are hungry to learn, I would encourage you to check out things everybody's heard of, right? Khan Academy, Linda, you know, Udemy. But the two that I'm most passionate about, each have 10 million students and each have free education. Number one is Coursera. You can take master's degree, graduate level training on Coursera from the most important universities in the entire world, where tens of thousands of people take the exact same class at the exact same time, and they don't have to pay $5,000 to go to that class. They get free access to the exact identical education as a student that's inside the Stanford class. It is phenomenal. If you have hustle, if you have grit, you go to Coursera, you get trained, you get an equivalent of a master's degree, you skip your bachelor's program, you're a hustler, junior, senior in high school, you can graduate high school and you can end up with a 6-figure job the second you're ready to rock.
Yeah, it's about skipping grades. It's like in another gaming analogy, when you played Mario, you wanted that magic flute that skipped forward some levels. We can all do that today.
It's so good.
You know, skipping grades, you know, in elementary school or junior high school or high school was, you know, a sign of someone that was, you know, progressing faster than everybody else. We all have the power to do that. I think that advice is so important. Go out there, get that master's degree. Do that while you're in high school.
While you're in high school.
You can do that, you know.
And in Spanish, you're from Puerto Rico, you're a Puerto Rican. You feel Spanish. You speak English, but you feel Spanish.
There's no excuses.
It's there
It's there for you.
for free. Now, the other one is creativelive.com. Creativelive.com. Anything around creativity is there, and every day they have free courses that are being streamed live, and it's something like 3 billion minutes of training, 10 million students. Those are real, tangible resources for you right now. We're going to take a 1-minute break. We're going to come back and discuss the future of education in regards to Puerto Rico and what we project and hope for in the next decade. This is Brock Pierce. My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to the Monastery Art Suites in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. This is the Global Puerto Rico Summit, and we are thankful that you're tuned in because we're grateful for your attention, and we also want to congratulate you for being here and participating in our conversation. What we're going to talk about right now is the future of education. We're going to project what our hopes, dreams, and desires are for Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans to become a lighthouse to the world in how education's done, let's say 2030. Let's dream a little bit. Talk to me.
What is the education system of the future? Well, the education system of the future is largely free, where anything and everything you want to learn is available to you. But it's one where you got to lean in.
Yeah.
You have to be proactive in designing your life. You have to say, here's where I want to go, and then take those first steps. Embark on that journey of empowering yourself to live your dreams. And that education system is kind of there already today and will very much be there in the future. And so that's probably the most, I think, important aspect of it. It's free. I mean, so much historically is that there's been this major disparity, of the haves and the have-nots, and the haves always having that education that has allowed them to live those prosperous lives, and be the biggest beneficiaries of everything that exists in society. That is now available to everyone. Education is democratized.
Yeah.
Education is democratized where it's available to everyone equally. Everyone on the planet is going to have equal access, free access to the best education in the world. Meaning it's just up to you. It's up to you to do you, to build the future that you want for yourself. To recognize that you have the power to design your life. It's up to you.
I was thinking about the future of education. This is going to impact Puerto Rico and everywhere in the world. And what I would love to see is that this tech is built in Puerto Rico. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this projection of what I think education will be like in, let's say, a decade. I believe you'll have the greatest teachers in the world that will teach from the comfort of their sanctuary. Now, of course, we have
Isn't that a little bit of what we're doing here in bite sizes?
we have our sanctuaries and our stadiums. Okay, so we have our deep sanctuaries that are private places for our soul and for us to go to. And we have our stadiums. Sometimes we open a sanctuary and make it a stadium temporarily, but we all live in our sanctuaries and stadiums. I think that the greatest educators in the world will be verified through a decentralized, democratized system where you'll know how good somebody is based on the fruitfulness of their teaching. You'll either say, this teacher's fruit grows on all these people's trees, or it doesn't. And if they are the greatest teachers in the world, they will be empowered to be elevated as the greatest teachers and compensated as the greatest teachers. You'll also have the greatest students. So in this democratized, decentralized world, I believe that you'll have access where the greatest teachers are teaching things that they know best, and the greatest students get access to them. Now, how would the students get access? Because it's all based on an honor system of compensation, ideally through micropayments. As you're learning from the greatest teacher of this discipline, you say, I release this value to you for teaching me, and then the system says, this is a student that values the teacher.
Yeah, well, one other point, I guess, on the future of education. It's about trade skills. It's about reskilling.
Yes, that's good too, man.
It's about
So
reskilling
good.
society, because most of what we know, most of what we learn is no longer going to serve us going forward.
So good.
The world is changing. You know, the fourth industrial revolution is changing everything. And so how do we re-educate or reskill the populations of the world? I think it's free. If what you have to offer is so good, you should be willing to give it away because you believe, you certify, you guarantee the education you're offering, and you probably get a percentage of what that person makes above a certain threshold. So I say, you come learn from me, and I guarantee you're going to make over $100,000 a year.
You're singing
and
my
if
language.
you don't make $100,000 a year, you pay me nothing. But if you make over $100,000 a year, you give me $10,000 a year for some few years. And that's how education should be. Put your money where your mouth is as an educator, because not all things are just digital that you can tune in. Some trade skills actually require investment. It requires being in a workshop, working in a maker studio, learning how to use the tools of tomorrow. And if you're that good, put your money where your mouth is.
And there's legal documents today called the income share agreement. Right now, you, as an individual master of a craft, can institute an income share agreement today with an intern. Don't pay your intern $10 or $15 an hour and expect them to become a six-figure income earner when you treat them like they're just a little intern. Transform your intern into a protege of your skill and your craft. Institute an income share agreement and turn your whole entire system into a vocational training program. This is a beautiful thing. I love that you brought this up that very specific way. We'll be right back to talk about government and the state of government today and governing in Puerto Rico and where things could be going in the near future. We'll see you in just 1 minute. This is Brock Pierce. My name is Ian Utilli. We want to welcome you to the Monastery Art Suites. You can come here, monastery.club. If you've seen the videos rolling by, all the beautiful hyperlapses that the legendary Eli Bottom have created for you today, he literally went outside, walked around for 5 minutes. That's what this place is. I'm loving this place right now.
I love it too.
And on the roof, which I did a live video from the roof this afternoon, showed the governor's mansion, the White House of Puerto Rico.
Which happens to be blue.
It is blue and beautiful. And what we want to talk about is the state of government. The impact of government and governing as it is today on Puerto Rico, and how Puerto Rico impacts how governing is done, maybe here or beyond. So talk to me about the government and governing in this place.
I'm so inspired by the conversations I've been having with the Puerto Rican government the last 2 years. It's a government that has taken an interest in innovation and is willing to take some risk, willing to take that bold, brave step into the future and embrace innovation, and to create incentives to stimulate markets they think are going to benefit the people here. I think of Puerto Rico as an incredible sandbox for trying out things that could benefit people in a great way. And if things can work here, they have the potential to go into the rest of the United States.
That's awesome.
Because if it works here, the rest of the United States, should be the places where that rolls out next.
Absolutely.
And so I think that there's a very willing and open-minded government to experiment with all sorts of new things. If you are working on innovative technologies and you think that those technologies could serve government, whether it be voting systems, smart grids, fintech, whatever it might be, new titling systems, this is one of those great places to come and experiment, or at least have that conversation. If these are things you're focused on, take a trip down here, engage with the local government. They are willing to meet with you. They're willing to hear your ideas, and they might just let you pilot a project here. I'm a big fan of what's happening here. Puerto Rico in some ways feels like it's, you're living in the past, but it feels right now like it's in this process, this metamorphosis, into the future. I can see Puerto Rico becoming a leader, in innovation. I think that potential is here, and that's thanks to a government that is willing to embrace innovation.
Is there anybody here in the government that you would want to honor, like by name, or any department that you want to call out and just be like, hey, I just want everybody to know, like, this department is unbelievable. I respect what they're doing. This person is incredible. I'm so blown away because, everybody in government always hears people bitch, moan, complain, and demonize them. Of course, they gathered their tribes to glorify them, which I hated just as much as demonizing. So I'm not asking for glorifying people, but just honoring and respecting people. Is there anybody or any institution that you're like, this one's really stood out to me?
Well, I'll honor the current governor because, leadership often, or stewardship, better described, starts at the top.
Yeah.
That's where some of that culture
Yep.
exists that allows people to say, I can take risk.
Yeah.
And the governor is taking advantage of the opportunity, to restart, to rebuild,
Yeah.
following Hurricane Maria, and saying, now is a time to embrace innovation. And most recently, two major things that are worth highlighting is the governor has made a big, bold step to say that Puerto Rico needs to be renewable. Puerto Rico needs clean energy, and that Puerto Rico has aspirations to be entirely clean energy in the not too distant future. And so if this is an area that you're focused on, if you care about, the environment, if you care about solar power, wind power, things of that nature, if this is something that you focus on as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, as someone that cares about the earth, the governor of Puerto Rico has said, we are about the environment. We are about doing what we can, on this island. And I try not to, I'm a non-political person. I try not to take sides, but I like to highlight anytime anyone on either side does something big, something bold, and something that's positive, and ultimately leading to a better world for their constituents.
It's awesome. We're going to come back with our very last segment with Brock Pierce as we wrap up this portion of the Global Puerto Rico Summit. The final segment that we're going to cover together is going to be the future of government as we project out how Puerto Rico can become a lighthouse to the rest of the world in the way that the government is run and in the way that people are governed. We'll be back in just 1 minute. This is my friend Brock Pierce. My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. We're so excited that you are tuning in. Thank you for your attention. Your attention is very valuable. We appreciate it, and we hope that we have earned it and sustained it, and that you have been kind enough to share this video with others as we're giving you our heart and everything we have really for free. You can go to claimFutureCast.Live and enter to win a free pair of AirPods, as well as free crypto kitties and many other gifts. The reason we do that is because we think it's a very innovative thing to do, to have a swag bag for a digital audience. We thought, why not create the future today, right here, right now, live stream through 100 channels. And so I think you're part of something absolutely revolutionary. Another thing that I think would be super revolutionary is to approach the future of government, our very last topic, not with a statement of the future, I hope, I wish, not with a projection of scientific facts, here's some statistics, because we all know that 74.1% of all statistics are made up on the spot, including that one. And what I'd love to have us do is you have a heart for Puerto Rico in a way that is palatable. I feel it. I am moved by your heart for Puerto Rico, which includes the government and the governors. You, in many ways, are an unvoted governor of people in this region, and I think that you, in many ways, have consciously and unconsciously figured out how to govern well, and I honor you for that.
I'm more of a promoter.
The greatest governors are ultimately visionaries that promote, in my opinion. I would love for you to just intuitively declare grace over the government of Puerto Rico and declare that Puerto Rico is going to become a lighthouse to the entire world in the way that people govern, in the way the governments run, in the way they do laws, in the way they approach decentralization. Like, I would just love for you to speak life into the future, and the future will manifest itself based on you declaring it out. And that's how I'd love to wrap up our final segment together.
Yeah, the future of government here and the potential of what happens here to inspire those around the world. I mean, it's really interesting times. We live in very, very interesting times. Times are changing.
Yes, they are.
There's a changing of the guard occurring. And these next waves of leadership, this next generation, that's assuming power, grew up with a very different set of tools, a very different set of education, a very different mentality.
Yeah.
And we're living through the most interesting times. And so some of the things that are going to change as a result of that, we're moving into a world where government is about stewardship again. The future of government is good stewards.
Yeah.
People in positions of authority that put their people first.
Yeah.
Themselves second. True governors, true leadership, true stewards. We also are going to have, and what will drive a lot of that is liquid democracy. The systems of technology are emerging where it's liquid democracy. People put into positions of leadership are there because of good stewards, and the moment they stop serving the interest of their people to the best of their abilities, they're out. The future doesn't have election terms. The future has governors with standby governors and standby governors. And as long as you are serving your people to the best of your abilities and putting your people first and doing a good job and performing and delivering, you will have an opportunity to serve. I mean, that's what government is about. Government is a service business. It's about people saying, I am going to live my life in service for the benefit of others, and I'm signing up for that gig. And somewhere along the way, that's changed a little bit. That's not to say that not everyone in government is, it's a mixed bag, because absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the systems, the way we've designed it, have some issues. But that's about to change. The best of government is going to stay,
Yes.
and the worst of government is about to, it's about to disappear.
Yes.
And so I am very enthusiastic about it. Just one last comment on blockchain. You know, a lot of people in our industry are like, oh, is blockchain going to disrupt government? I spend a lot of time educating government because I believe in evolution over revolution. I believe in the old and the new winning together, coming together to create, you know, that best possible future. And so I believe that blockchain and governments are slowly going to merge.
Yeah.
I believe that governments become development platforms in the future.
Yeah.
That we can build applications on top of.
Yeah.
And so that's how I see our future.
I affirm that. I have the same vision. I have as much fun interviewing you and spending time with you on a live stream as I've ever had. I've done hundreds of these now in the last year and a half, which was an accident because I needed to do market research on my company and I needed to build a sales funnel. So it all just kind of happened. And I can't think of a time I ever have been more animated, more passionate. You brought the best out of me. I hope that you feel like this environment brought the best out of you. And I want to tell you how grateful I am for the way that you've hosted me and my team this time, last time I was here, and for all the future times that you will open the door for me to bring the best of who I am to this environment. I thank you very much, Brock.
Well, and I thank you for showing up, for creating these opportunities, you know, an opportunity to learn with each other, an opportunity to be inspired, and hopefully through this channel inspire others so that people can learn, and together, you know, together we rise.
Yes. We'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes with the last couple micro interviews as we wrap up the Global Puerto Rico Summit. secret. It's very simple, and it doesn't take much time. So what I told Brock is I'm going to basically do a quick 5-second pitch. He's going to tell Instagram to swipe up. We're going to create 7 different 10-second ads that we can then roll afterwards. Then we'll do also a quick little pitch that is specific for YouTube and Facebook. And Brock and I will both use this because we're both live on our YouTube, Facebook pages, Twitter pages. This will go on Instagram. And, you know, making content's fantastic. Having an audience is amazing. But making the content evergreen and usable day after day, season after season, maybe decade after decade is quite important. And there's no reason to hide that and do that behind the scenes. I thought it'd be nice to share that right here and right now. So here we go. I'm going to clap, and then we're going to do an ad, and I'm just going to go one after another. Instagram, my name is Ian Utility. This is Brock Pierce. We just talked all about Puerto Rico and the impact that art and entertainment has.
Swipe up to be inspired.
Instagram, my name is Ian Utility. This is Brock Pierce. We just finished the Global Puerto Rico Summit, and you should
swipe up to rise up.
Instagram, this is Brock Pierce. My name's Ian Utility. What we just did was we talked all about news and media and the impact Puerto Rico is making on that industry.
Yeah, swipe up to light up.
Instagram, Brock Pierce, Ian Utility. We had a very compelling conversation about all things faith, worship, philanthropy, religion, and the impact Puerto Rico is having on that sphere of society.
And swipe up, giddy up.
Instagram, this is Brock Pierce. I'm Ian Utility. We're both daddies. We talked all about family in Puerto Rico and what you should do right now.
Swipe up to grow up.
Instagram, my name is Ian Utility. This is Brock Pierce. We just talked all about business and Puerto Rico's impact on that sphere of society. What should they do, Brock?
Swipe up, revenue up.
Instagram, this is Brock Pierce. My name is Ian Utility. We talked all about education, and you should take a look at it. It's about Puerto Rico. What should they do?
Swipe up as the people rise up.
Instagram, Brock Pierce, Ian Utility. We had a great conversation on Puerto Rico and government. We'd love for you to do the following.
Swipe up, enlighten up.
Hey Facebook, my name's Ian Utility. This is Brock Pierce. You probably don't know who I am. You probably know who he is. Everybody does. My kids know who I am. Anyway, what you should do is join us right now. Okay? We just did a 4-hour live Puerto Rico summit with a global audience. We talked about art, news, religion, family, government, education, and business. It was wild, fun. I'm sweaty. Not just the humidity, it's the passion in the conversation. What should they do, Brock?
Swipe up so you can get up.
Come on, come join us and share this with others. Hey YouTube, hope that you're having a good time. Don't mean to interrupt you with an ad. Nobody likes ads, but we think we have something of value to share with you. We'd love for you to come and click through this video. And what did we talk about, Brock?
Oh, we've talked about spirituality, education, business, government, the future. The future is bright. You know, and all the light in the world, building those lighthouses, inspiring all of us to be the best potential selves that we can be. Swipe up to be that.
Well, everybody, I'm down to 30 seconds left. Go to claim.futurecast.swag.live, win AirPods, get CryptoKitties, and all sorts of other things. I will say that my intention for these last 2 days were very ambitious. In many ways, my ambition was not met, yet there was grace. In my failure to get the 30 great leaders of Puerto Rico in the room, it didn't matter. The wind was in the sails, and we still had such an incredible time. I have more time. Come on.
Swipe it. You know,
I thought I was out. I thought I was out. This is the end, though. So we have like 4 minutes left. What I'd like to do is end on a super vulnerable, authentic, transparent note. And so let me just set the tone with as vulnerable as I can possibly be with all of you. To be clear, I told the world last week that yesterday was going to be the world's most exclusive global blockchain summit of all time. Then I showed up yesterday, got here at 3 in the morning, and I thought everybody at consensus was going to be like, hell yeah, man, we'll pay you $10,000 and come get on your platform and you can take us to the world and we'll share it with the world and you'll make content. And that 10 grand was to pay for my team to make videos for them. But I wanted to make it exclusive. And so I was wrong. So nobody came from consensus except for my most wonderful friend, Jody Rich, who came out. And of course others did come, but not for the purpose that I had in mind. When we went up to your room yesterday at 4 p.m., I'm like, so I don't really have anybody coming, bro. So basically everything I said to people is wrong. I'm going to be like the Billy McFarlane. I just launched the Fire Festival. And, I'm going to have to make up for it somehow, some way, because there ain't no way I'm going to let people down. So I'm like, I'll just do it. I'll do 4 hours and I'll tell people everything I learned about blockchain. if you don't mind, will you join me? And you were so gracious, like, no, bro, I'm not going to. What do you think this is for? Let's get some people here this the next hour. And you know, that's the grace that happens. That's the wind in the sails that happens when you fail as an entrepreneur. When you fail as an entrepreneur and you're in community, you might feel like, gosh, I had so much greater ambition. I had so much greater things I wanted in mind. And yet a friend steps in and says, oh, where you lack, I can fulfill and I can fill in the gaps. Today was very similar. I figured I'd have a bunch of people here because of our event yesterday, and I did have lots and we did do some interviews, but again, I kind of had a scramble. It didn't matter because what ended up happening is that you and I weren't limited to just one session. We got to take an hour and a half out of the 4 hours and have one of the most compelling conversations. So I just want to be very clear with people that like look and say like, oh man, this is amazing, or whatever encouraging thing you might tell me. I would just say, hey, in many ways, that's a grace, and I'm just grateful. Last minute, anything that you add to the risk of entrepreneurship and the grace that is met with us when we take courageous risks?
Well, that's where we learn. If you're not taking risk, you're not learning. And it's not failure. We don't learn from our successes. We learn from our failures, which we call the lessons. Yeah. You know, these are the things that you need to do. You have to take those risks. You have to learn those lessons. And sometimes you fall, and then you get up and you do it again. And guess what? You're going to get better at it. And you do it again, and you keep doing it. There's no failure. This is all just a lesson. It's all just learning. As long as you learn the lesson, so that you level up and that you don't keep getting trapped in those loops and repeating those mistakes. Right. Remember, take the risk, experience the failure, learn the lesson, and then those are good things. So failing is a good thing. If you're not failing in your life and you're not failing often, you're probably not learning.
So
you're
good.
Not taking enough risks.
So good.
You know, get out there.
So
good.
Be
Be bold.
Yes.
Take big, audacious risks and be grateful for the failures and learn the wonderful lessons that they provide.
It's awesome.
It makes you better.
And with that, we're going to leave you. We're going to finally say for the last time, thank you for your attention. We are very grateful. Have the most wonderful day and share this with others.